it's 30
Right.
seconds until. Okay, we're going live, but okay, we're live now. Hello, everyone,
Hello.
and welcome to the Gravity Max live stream.
Oh, now I
Hey,
gotta tab
Brendan.
back into Discord.
Brendan's back. Okay,
Great, thanks. Thanks,
we're
Brendan.
started.
Now
We
I
started.
need to turn off the display capture so I can go back, click into the Discord. And there you are.
Just put it on your second monitor, my man.
It is on my second monitor.
All right.
Oh, great! Now all the cameras froze. Awesome. Look what you've done
Oh
to
no.
us, Brendan.
Phenomenal.
Look what you have done.
I'm so
And
The
sorry.
chaos you have
So
wrought.
today, we're gonna talk about aliens, extraterrestrials.
Right, hold up.
Are they
Again?
real?
All right.
Again, yes.
Oh, Brendan, you really messed everything up. Holy crap.
What have I done?
Hold
Literally,
on.
What did I do other than join a call?
So let me run through what happened. I turned off all the captures so I can do stuff behind the scenes. Camilla was the only one to not freeze. Everything else just froze, went away, and I couldn't minimize the tab without
This
it
sounds
going
like such a
completely
you
insane.
problem.
This is
cannot
all
stand
your
it.
fault. This is
I literally
all
didn't have any of those
your
problems. This
fault.
is literally
I
client
can't believe you would do this.
I can't believe you
to
would
me.
blame this on me.
I can't believe this.
See,
All
this
right.
just really goes
Okay,
back
there's
to
Max.
why Ulysses S. Grant
Okay.
is
Oh,
a
no.
better
Well,
person.
Oh, no.
clearly, if you studied the
Not
works of
again.
Benjamin Franklin, you could invent a better excuse.
Uh-oh. Oh
All right,
boy.
we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. Okay.
Great start, guys.
Thank
So,
We're doing great.
you. The hell are we
Yeah.
talking about?
so today, I reached 2 to the power of 10 subscribers. Which
Nice.
is very cool.
Very nice.
Very nice. Thank you, Sebastian. You also had some milestones passed as well, right?
Yep.
Yep,
The most recent one I passed was 2 to the 8th, 512.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna make a special video.
Or
for
2,
that.
it's 2 to the 9th is 512, sorry. 2 to
Oh,
the
yeah,
8th
yeah.
is 256, 2 to the 9th is 512.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll have a special video out about that pretty soon. And again, pretty much just Futurology shouted us out. Thank
Yes.
you again. So, yeah. Yeah. But
yeah.
with that
So
being
this
said,
is a callback to
Yeah.
it was a season 1 episode.
it was a
right?
season 1 episode.
Yeah.
Season 1 episode 8. Now we're on season 5 episode 8. So
Yeah, so we're
We're-
talking about
Yep.
aliens. So
yeah.
on the first run through we had all these guys, and Jam was here, but he's not able to be here today.
Is he working right now?
I don't know. I think he's out, just in general. But he was on the drums for that one, right? And we were just like, "Go do the drums,
Oh, yeah.
Mike."
Yeah, we were like, we're gonna tell a joke. Mike, go to the drums.
Yeah,
Go to the drums. Do it.
Yep.
So his spirit lives
That
on.
was fun. That was fun. Yeah. Whenever we tell a joke, we'll just do it on our desks.
Yes.
All right. But yeah, so let's just do the plugs quickly so that then we can get into the
Absolutely.
topic. So we begin with visit the Gravity Max website at gravitymaxmedia.com. There are things there. It is cool. Next, follow Gravity Max on. I do this over and over again each week, so I'm just kind of like.
Yeah.
Follow Gravity Max on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. Links in the description. That's where you can get all your Gravity Max updates. So when things happen that are unexpected, this is where that information shall be shared. So
Eloquent.
yes, thank you. Otherwise, we're every Sunday at 5 p.m. But sometimes things change. So if you're here on a Sunday at 5 p.m. and we're not live, then you should have followed us on social media. That's all I'm going to say about that. So also follow Sebastian on social media. 128 seconds YouTube. Let's get him up to 1,024 next, right?
Yes. Very, very nice.
Yeah, short educational videos, 128 seconds long each. Very good, very cool. Quick information. And he has an Instagram as well. So links in the description. And finally, A Bottle to Flame. Second book, sequel to the first one. Links in the description below. And the third one's going to come out very soon, hopefully. Things go as planned. I'm trying to get it out before my birthday. So,
Nice.
which is 2 months from now. So let's see if it can happen. Anyway,
I
Now we
believe
go
you can
to-
do it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now we go to the topic. Second contact. Like first contact, but the second time.
It's like three
Because-
with one, really. It's pretty simple.
Because we are doing this topic for the second time. Hopefully we'll do it better. I don't mean to insult anyone involved, but I think Sebastian and I, we agree that was probably like the worst episode, right?
Of the first season, it was just
was
so
fun.
informal. It was fun.
but-
Yeah.
It was fun. I'll give it that. It was fun.
It wasn't.
But I don't think it was the
there
best
were some moments where like
viewer experience.
there were some moments where it was a little unorganized. Like a
Yeah,
bunch of
that's-
people were talking at once, and then like some people weren't paying attention. And it was just.
It was
And
fun.
me and Seb were
But it was
just
fun. It was
doing
really
our
fun.
own thing for most of
We
it.
were having fun.
Yep.
We were having fun.
We were having fun. I guess that's how to sum it up. So we're going to talk about aliens again today. So I guess introduction to this topic. Well, everyone knows what aliens are. People have theories. Roswell, New Mexico, what happened there?
Mm.
No one knows.
I definitely
Someone
want to check
probably
that
knows,
out. You know,
but-
look for clues.
Look for clues.
Okay, Brendan, you're
I
looking
wonder-
awfully.
Colorful?
Yeah, awfully
Let's
colorful.
go.
Oh,
I just got some new LEDs,
Mm.
and they randomly shift at strange intervals. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, aliens. I mean, everyone's thought about them. They were the big thing.
Yeah.
I remember just a big influx of conspiracy theories in like the 2010s
Mm.
about that. And of course, whenever a big event happens, you're gonna get people that theorize
Also,
it.
Hillary
credit
Clinton-
to.
Hillary Clinton
Oh,
didn't
no.
help by saying,
You're
if I
treading
get
on-
elected, I'm gonna release the alien files.
Oh yeah, didn't she say
Wait,
something
she said
like
she would
that?
do that?
Yeah, she said if she got elected, she was gonna release the files on the aliens.
Wow.
Which
I feel like
gives me
everyone
fant-
says they'll do that.
That
And no
is
one ever does it.
fantastic, because
I wish
if
they
she gets
would.
elected, she doesn't have to do anything, because there's probably like 2 or 3 files.
Yeah, because there's probably not.
Exactly.
Imagine when you get, sworn in, do you think the first thing they tell you is, all right, Mr. President, Madam President, we got to tell you about the aliens. What do you think? I mean, Harry Truman, that's pretty much what happened to Harry Truman with regards to the nuclear bomb.
Mm.
He was vice president, and he was just like, going about his business. And then FDR died, so then he became president. And within like a day, they were like, oh yeah, so we have a bomb, a single bomb that can destroy an entire city. And he's just like, oh,
By the
Like,
way,
on the
guess
DL
I have
now.
to handle that now. So,
BT
Yeah.
dubs.
We kind of got
By
a
the
few
way.
extra if you want to just like chuck them around, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we've got
Hot
two,
potato, hot potato.
or three. They had three.
Should have used all 3.
They used one as a test. They did a test thing on like an atoll, or in New Mexico or something, and then they only had 2 left.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
And then they
I
made
imagine
a
that's how
lot
it is with
more.
aliens. Then they made a lot more. Now we have 7,000 or something. I don't think we'll run out anytime soon. We've got plenty to go
I
around.
hope we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that stuff is just gonna be used for like asteroid defense at this point. Like if
Yeah,
a massive
honestly.
asteroid is coming at us, like just fire off 20 of those bad boys. It'll resolve.
Yeah,
this.
I mean, it really depends.
Absolutely.
It's actually interesting with asteroid deflection because even with a nuke, you have to do it very much in advance
Mhm.
Hmm.
to nudge it off course. But yeah, I don't know. I think nuclear.
Something where like people are like, oh yeah, just paint the asteroid.
Yeah, just spray paint it.
If
That
you can
works.
get up there and get
Yeah,
enough
exactly.
coverage of the asteroid to paint it, you could just like attach
Do
a
something
thruster or something.
Yeah, exactly.
What
Yeah,
would
it's
spray
interesting.
painting the asteroid do exactly?
Okay. So,
Deflect it.
so one side would be painted white, and the other side would be painted black. And have you ever seen those little desk toys that look like a light bulb, and they've got those little things in it where one side's white and the other's black, and then if you put it in the sun, it starts spinning around? Never seen that before?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So light transfers more momentum.
Oh, so you
To
get it to
an
spin
object.
away from the Earth. Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
or just push it away from the Earth, so that, yeah, exactly. It's just the radiation, because when radiation hits a white object like this lab coat, right, it hits and then bounces off. But when it hits a black object like your sweater, Camilla, it just hits and then stops. So there's a difference of momentum there, by a factor of 2.
So would
yeah.
that energy be enough to move something that big?
Yes,
it's not actually.
but it's very
I mean,
slowly. Like the point
big,
is
but
that
yeah.
if you see an asteroid and it's going to collide with the Earth in 20 years or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then you
Okay. If it's in
enact it.
20 years, then I can see that. I
Yeah.
was just.
You only got to move it like a quarter degree, maybe even.
Yeah, you basically have to
Yeah.
slow it down by like 0.01% to completely
Yeah.
change its orbit. But yeah, aliens probably
Yeah,
do that
that's
no
fair.
sweat.
Yeah.
If they have
Bro, just
interstellar.
get a netherite pickaxe up there, it's gone.
Over, bro. Over.
It's over. Yeah, it's interesting with asteroid mining. As asteroid mining takes off, there might come a point where an asteroid is like headed toward Earth. It's on a collision course, and literally no one is concerned. In fact, a few business people are like, "Oh, this will increase our profits this quarter because it's closer, so we can mine it easily." Like that's it. It's going to be very casual. But yeah, so let's see. So let's.
All right,
get-
actually, dude,
Yeah.
meteors. I saw a dash cam video from Russia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All of the
Of a
Russian guys.
What is it? The
Meteor.
Chelyabinsk, I think it's called.
I think so. It was in like 2010, 2012.
Yep.
Of a meteor going across the sky, and it blows up midair,
Yep.
and just everything goes south in like 2 seconds. Just
Yeah.
all the cars get like shifted, all the alarms go off, every single pane of glass on the buildings gets shattered. Dude, I was like, meteor just like hits the ground, like, ooh, hits ground goes up a bit, maybe someone gets a little dirty. No, it's a bit more than that apparently.
Shockwave.
And for every one Chelyabinsk, right, there are 2 that just do that over the ocean and no one notices.
Nice.
Honestly.
Because
and it's
think
always,
about it, just
yeah.
29% of the Earth is land, and an asteroid can hit anywhere.
But
So
it
it's
always
most
chooses.
likely it's
It
a
always
wild,
chooses
right?
to hit Russia, though. It's always
Well,
Russia.
again, just think about that statistically. Russia has the greatest land area.
That's true.
That's all it comes down to.
But yeah, I know. I
yeah,
saw this
so
other.
it's just always Russia when we notice them.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
you're on a sailboat, all right, in the middle of the ocean,
Uh-huh.
and you see a large streak of light, and then
Yep.
a massive explosion, and your sailboat just flips over. Like at that point, it's your time to go. Like
You have been
That's
smited.
that's
Yeah.
kind of game set match when an
Yeah,
asteroid
exactly.
itself destroys you.
People have been hit by asteroids before or meteorites, and they're like, okay.
Well, because
This one-
they're like super
okay.
small, right?
Yeah, so this one woman, right, is just chilling in her house when a rock about this big slams through the roof and like hits her on the shoulder and like bruises her like shoulder bone or something like that, like, and she's just like, huh? and it was an actual meteor.
She's like, who
it
threw
sounds
that
like
rock?
it sounds like
God?
a
She sees
yeah,
the hole through her
insurance ad.
ceiling.
Yep. So the air resistance slowed it down significantly, and then crashing through the roof slowed it down even more. So she like actually got hit by a meteor, and all it did was cause like,
Those
A
dang
bruise.
kids
Those dang-
yeah,
with their
Farmers'
baseballs
health
made of
insurance.
stone.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
we've seen, yeah. But yeah, that actually is a great segue into our first topic here, which is great filters. And an asteroid, a very big one, is a potential great filter. So great filters are
Sorry,
events.
before we start, can I just say, Max tried to explain this to me in like 7th grade, and I was like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Oh, that does make a lot of sense. It didn't make a lot of sense. It was just
Okay.
all going over my head. I
Was this
so
before or after we tried to build that nuclear
That
reactor?
was the first thing we did. That
So
was
that was after.
that was
Yeah.
square one.
That was fun. We didn't do anything other than like
We didn't do
blueprints.
anything very illegal.
We're gonna start
Yeah.
hearing police sirens from one of your cameras.
Anyway. Fun times.
So let's see if
So-
Brendan has surpassed his 7th grade knowledge. Go ahead.
Yes.
Lay
So,
us
okay.
Or at least knowledge
the
retention.
definition.
So a great filter is an event that has the potential of completely wiping out civilization. And there are many such events. And the probabilities of those events occurring is unknown. And if those events are very high, then we wouldn't expect to see a lot of aliens because all of them have been wiped out by some great filter or another. And if the probabilities are all very low, then we would expect to see a lot of aliens because, that implies that, people aren't getting wiped out. That's what the great filter is. It's just some event that completely destroys civilization. No chance of recovery. Or at least if there is a chance of recovery, it would take too long for, the lifespan of the Earth. Like, say that some event killed everything on Earth except for the bacteria, like all animal life. That would be a great filter because the amount of time it took for life to go from the bacterial stage to the stage we're at now is many billions of years. And by the time... I'm sorry.
I was trying not to laugh.
Brendan just wrote in the Discord chat, USA stands for United States of Among Us. That just...
That's so
Okay.
Very intellectual.
Anyway.
I was trying
So,
so hard not to
was
laugh,
I
and then
even
you
saying?
laughed, and I broke.
what was I even... I don't even
Talking
remember.
about
So, like,
bacteria.
Okay,
If
so
there's
okay,
something
yeah.
that could
Would
kill
We
the
were-
an
bacteria.
we were
example of a
thrown
great
back to the-
filter just be
yeah.
like a star explosion or a solar flare or something like that?
Star
Yeah, a
Wars.
star explosion near enough to us, a supernova event that occurred close enough, could wipe out life on Earth. Solar flares, thankfully we have like a pretty robust magnetic field and ozone layer, but if that were to cease, which could be from, say, the core cooling down, if it exhausted its sort of nuclear furnace too quickly, that's what
Pollution,
happens
carbon
on Mars.
emissions.
Yeah, that can happen. That's shaping up to be a mass extinction event, actually. The 6th great extinction.
Dope. We're all gonna die.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're already in a mass extinction, actually.
Nice.
Because the average rate of extinction throughout history is about 10 species a year. And right now it's up around 1,000. So,
Wow.
yeah. Other great mass extinctions include the last one was the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. There was one with the Cambrian that
Cambrian
wiped out.
explosion.
There's the great dying.
Well, the Cambrian explosion was like a good
know.
one. It was a good
know.
it was
I know,
yeah.
but I like thinking that.
Here, wait. I'm gonna look them
Just
up. I'm gonna look up
ghosts.
all the mass extinctions actually, because that's.
Oh wait, no, I know what that is. I was thinking an actual explosion. Also.
No,
I
it was-
don't remember.
It was an explosion in 1949 off the coast of Cambria.
Yeah, on the
no,
coast
no,
of
no.
Cambria.
It's
Yeah.
It was an explosion of life.
Yeah,
if you
no,
wanna-
I know.
No,
that.
I remember-
figured-
Let's all go into extreme
There's-
detail about the Cambrian explosion for
Okay,
Brendan's
there's this
sake.
one animal. There's this one animal called the trilobite. You know, the
Fish.
Yes,
trilobites?
the
They
trilobites.
survived 2 mass extinctions,
Yeah,
and then were
Mac,
hit with a
you
3rd one.
And
and got
trilobites and like
It is so sad. The trilobites. The poor trilobites.
they're not
They
poor.
they
They're around
survived.
for like 20 million years.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
but
they
they got
pulled a
wiped
fat
out. It's so
dub.
sad.
Honestly, they
Okay,
needed
so
a
the
nerf.
five extinctions. We've got
I'm
the
glad the devs nerfed trilobites.
glad the
Oh,
death. We've got the Ordovician Silurian extinction 440 million years ago, the Devonian extinction 365 million years ago, the Permian Triassic extinction 250 million years ago, the Triassic Jurassic extinction 210, and then of course the Cretaceous Tertiary extinction 65 million years ago.
They really got to give it cooler names, like the.
Yeah, it's all just based on geological eras. So, Let's look up the
The big
causes, though,
boom.
because these could be
Yeah,
potential
something
great
like that.
filters. So 5 mass extinctions causes.
Nuke but big.
Yeah, so
Cold year.
nuke, yeah.
Big ice.
Mm.
Honestly, I think big
One
ice
of them
is-
was volcanoes, I remember. One of them, of course, the dinosaurs one, is the asteroid. So that's interesting. Actually, let's talk about the asteroid death first.
Sure.
The most recent one. If there were an asteroid massive enough at this point, I'm not sure we're 100% equipped. I don't think we're 100% ready for an asteroid impact.
I would
and
agree.
it really depends on the time scale on which it is going to hit us. If we detect an asteroid that will hit us in 10 years, I give it like 50-50 odds that we could probably deal with it. Like a world-ending asteroid, so it would have to be very big. I think there's a good chance that we could deflect it, but anything closer, like things have happened where an asteroid has passed by the Earth by, a few Earth radii, and it would have been a world ender, and the scientists, astronomers only noticed it like a few days before it passed by us. That's concerning.
Imagine being the temp at the observatory
Yeah.
with the telescope, and you're just like, everyone's out. Let me just. Oh my!
Exactly. You're just like, oh, this isn't good. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, there are ways to
I think
prevent
we
something. Yeah.
would. I think we would be able to. I think the 50-50 odds figure. I would give it more. I would put it more in humanity's favor, just because it's such an immediate threat, and that's what humans are good
That's
at
true.
dealing with. And I think that for something like that, people would be able to put other stuff aside and like go all in.
Yeah,
on
I mean,
that.
I was
NASA
about
would
to say,
finally
I
get,
feel like
a budget.
if we actually identified it, we were like, yo, this is gonna be like bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of countries, especially like the UN, would be like, okay,
Yeah, my favorite country.
I know like you burned down our White House, but like Canada, we can work together. That type of thing,
Yeah. I think actually you're right, because if we look
I
at the
don't
U.S.
know.
military budget, for instance, which is probably 100 times as large as the NASA budget,
The
maybe
Space
a bit
Force.
Space
um,
Force.
if there were an event, an asteroid that would actually wipe out humanity entirely, we would probably almost immediately reallocate pretty much the whole
Yeah.
defense budget,
Yeah.
because
Because that is
that's
kind
the
of
point.
defense.
It's defense. It wouldn't be. I don't think you would even need to reallocate it. Like you wouldn't even need to pass a budget. It would.
Yeah.
I could say, it would just be saying to the military, "Okay, go fix this."
I could see
That's
that
probably
passing,
what would
like,
happen. I could see that.
even if it was straight reallocation, I could see that passing unanimously in Congress.
Oh yeah. I mean, if it was again an asteroid that will wipe out everything.
Yeah.
What is interesting to think about, although
This will be devastating for the economy.
yeah,
This will
although
lower the economy by at least 20 percentage points.
At least.
yeah, what's interesting to think about though is what if it's an asteroid that would not destroy everything, but only like some things. I'm not sure
think
how
it
we would
still be
respond.
pretty mobilizing.
Yeah, at that point,
Yes,
I
but-
bet the percentage would go down by like 1 or 0.1%. But again, it's still like everyone has to live on Earth, so
Yeah.
everyone is like truly in the same boat. And
Kind of, but there's some asteroids obviously that might only destroy like say 100 square miles, which is still a lot, but like or say 1,000 square or sorry, wait. I mean 1,000 miles
Can
square.
you give me a
So say
square
like a
reference for
radius.
100 square miles? Like, what is there a state?
Okay,
that
I didn't. Yeah,
don't-
sorry, I didn't mean 100 square miles because that's only a 10 by 10 block. But say 1,000 miles away from the center, so it's a circle with radius 1,000 miles is going to be the path of destruction, which is about, let's say, I think a circle that wide could fit between L.A. and Chicago.
Yeah, no, we're stopping that. That's not.
But what if it wasn't going to hit the U.S.? That's the thing. Would the U.S. pay for that?
It would still.
No,
affect
that's what
the
I was
US.
gonna
It
bring
would
that
still
up.
If
affect
it wasn't going to hit a U.S. ally, You know,
I was
that's
going to bring that up. I don't think it would be. I recognize that I am, in fact, a pessimist, like through and through. So that's probably going to affect my thought process here. But I don't think. I think there's a higher possibility that it's not gonna, Jesus, not gonna be a unanimous decision to like help everyone fix this.
Oh, I don't
think
think
it would
be
be more
unanimous.
likely that like a country and its allies would help each other, and then possibly if there's some sort of conflict between that country and its allies and another country, they might just ignore them, or even I think it would depend on who's in power and just how horrible the mind, like how much the panic is, but they might use it as an opportunity to like attack that country and
yeah,
just
I mean, imagine if
save
it wasn't
themselves.
even. Imagine if it was literally like an enemy of the United States. Say that we find an asteroid is about to hit either Moscow or Beijing.
Yeah, I don't trust.
How might the U.S. respond to that?
humanity.
I
That would be
think
an
the U.S. would go, "Yo, we'll help you out, but you gotta pay us back."
You would think
The U.S.
that,
usually plays that sort of is there
Yeah.
money to be made approach.
yeah,
That's fair.
and
Probably.
th-
But
that's
also,
no,
it's
well,
not like
that's
it wouldn't affect the U.S. because, first of all, whatever country it hits is going to be essentially crippled for a long time, and that is going to affect the U.S. But also the environment.
Yeah, global
impact, like
yeah.
a global economy and environment. I think even if it hit in Moscow, that would super heavily impact the United States. I think
Yeah.
enough that even if the U.S. couldn't get something out of it, I think they would help out their enemy. They probably wouldn't take charge, as I think the U.S. might try to take charge if it was going to like obliterate the Earth.
Yeah,
But
I
they'll
think we
probably
have the
donate
most.
or like
I think we have the largest space program, so it would just sort of be natural
yeah.
for a world event. In terms of just budget,
Now, do you think if there's the asteroid, right, and they need to move things up, is NASA gonna build their own rockets, or you think they're gonna hire SpaceX? You think private sector is gonna get involved?
Well, it's interesting because, again, in this sort of instance, I could see them just having the military build rockets.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I was
they
going to
could
say.
mobilize,
There's really no reason why the private sector would, because immediately you get all the funds reallocated. You now have
Yeah.
a budget of literally a blank check.
Yeah.
So I don't
I mean,
think you
again,
would need.
there's instances of this being done. The only one I can recall, and it's not really a good example, but it was there was Donald Trump did an executive order to have the military build the southern border wall after he declared an emergency at the southern border, right? That was stopped by the Supreme Court, though. So the Supreme Court said, no, you're not allowed to do that. However, if the president in this sort of situation were to say, the military shall now build the rocket to save humanity, the Supreme Court probably will just be like, okay, we're not taking this one.
Yeah, and if it's really a bad
Yeah.
plan, then at least like amend it. But they
Yeah,
wouldn't just
yeah.
straight up say, "No, you are not allowed to save Earth."
It's funny because someone would
Ultimately.
probably bring that lawsuit to the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
and they would get rejected, obviously. But
Why
could
do
you
I have
imagine?
to pay my tax dollars towards this?
Exactly. They'll say this is not a proper use of the U.S. military. It always happens. It's just interesting.
Someone's really out there just going to be
There's
like
always someone, right?
Orwellian.
This
I've
is
made
literally
my own bunker
1984.
with my own money, and I don't need to help anyone else.
Yeah, this is
Well, the
literally.
reason I
1984.
proposed the private sector is I was thinking SpaceX, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have the technology for much cheaper and much, to be fair, better rockets than NASA right now. So do
It would-
you think the American government would just spend a ton of money and stick with what they have now, or maybe even strike a partial deal or temporarily hire
Yeah, it
SpaceX
would
or
probably
something
be
like
a
that?
private-public partnership. If we look for history for precedent, although there's obviously no precedent for this, but if we look at say World War
Well,
One and
like
World
a
War
few
Two,
100 million years ago, there was
yeah, no, I
Kind of
mean literally
letting
like
it
in
hit.
terms of American policy, right? World War One and World War Two was affected like they used a massive sort of private-public partnership to effectively carry out World War One and World War Two. There was Woodrow Wilson and FDR sort of used the sort of companies basically leading up to those time periods, like World War One and World War Two. There was a lot of antitrust lawsuits and stuff like that. But then as soon as the war started, they're like, okay, as long as you're building stuff for the war, you can be as monopolistic as you want. We don't care. Just build stuff. So you'd probably get a similar situation for an asteroid impact, right? But in terms of, a great filter, that might be why we're not seeing aliens. Magical.
Oh, wow, Brendan.
If all the aliens are wiped out by asteroids, that might be why we're not seeing them. That's one reason.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's the other thing is that I know you started this off with great filters. Their probability is hard to nail down, or it's like an unknown probability. I would say that asteroid is probably the most probable thing to wipe out a civilization, just because of all the asteroids that there are. You could make the case for other like obviously not man-made, I guess alien-made things taking themselves out. That might also be seen as fairly likely. But I would say that you
got
could
the
definitely
nuclear war possibility.
Yeah, I would say you definitely bank on asteroids being in the more probable bracket of the filters.
Yeah, that's interesting. So another possibility.
A really edgy emo filter, like civilization itself. Like, is that a filter?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of what
there are actually. That is the
is it inevitable that a civilization and then develops technology, and that
wipes
technology
itself
ends up killing it, either through AI or like pollution and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's really
like, for example, if the Cold War didn't turn out the way it did, and we just sent out a bunch of nukes on each side, we would probably render a lot of the planet uninhabitable just because of the radiation.
There was during the Cold War, there was this one Russian guy that prevented nuclear war.
Stanislav. He was.
Yeah.
I think that was his name.
Yeah.
What?
This guy, he was like, you could tell the story. I will get his name.
So there was like a nuclear submarine or something. Maybe not. I think it was whatever. They had a facility, right? And they detected nuclear warheads inbound from the U.S. However, that was just a reading error. That was like a error with the equipment. And so it would have required 3 officers to launch a nuclear attack back to the United States. And 2 of them said, yes, we should do this. We think that we're under attack from America because of this reading. And then this one guy is like, I'm not sure about that. I don't think that this is accurate. And so he's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, his name was Stanislav Petrov, and he was actually born
we wouldn't have to take finals if they launched nukes.
What?
Like, if the Russians had launched nukes, we wouldn't have to take finals. So, like, I see that as a total win.
True.
All right. Interesting. So,
He's
so another.
not wrong.
Yeah, the civilization wiping itself out one is interesting, but I would say there's an AI. People will sometimes say the AI one, but I personally don't think the AI one works because say that an AI takes over the world and wipes out humanity. What do you think they're going to do next? Like, do you think they're just going to be content staying on Earth and being like, yeah, we're good here, we'll chill? Or do you think they're going to go to the moon, to Mars, all throughout the solar system, and then eventually other star systems to conquer? You know, that's
terrifying
because they're an AI. Like, why? Like, what else would they? You know, if they're already happy.
Well, also, then you have to factor
out
in
humanity.
And then this is obviously a later question, but it's, are alien civilizations going to be similar to human civilizations?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that conversation later, but that affects what technology is made. If there's less of an emphasis on combat and conflict, you're not going to have nukes. If there's less of an emphasis on progress and prosperity, you're not going to have AI. So you also need to factor that in, and that is what makes the probability for that one completely unknown, because that's based on the society itself. I caught that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Knocking
Other
stuff
possibilities.
off my desk.
Another one is some of the mass extinction events have actually been just massive volcano outbreaks. Just an entire continent will erupt in just volcanic activity for a long period of time. I mean, the most comparable thing to that we've ever had is the year without a summer, 1815, 1816, where the Krakatoa volcano went off and caused global temperatures to drop for a year, so that there were famines around the world that year. And like no one knew why. It was just a cold year, but then we found out later, like, oh, it was this one volcano erupting, which is just fascinating.
Yeah.
How that
Volcanoes
can
don't
affect
mess
the entire
around.
system. They do not mess around. Like there were even I think well, it's interesting how the climate actually impacts things, because there's something known as the Little Ice Age, which occurred in 1600s to 1800s, I think, and it was associated with an increased period of instability around the world, which is just fascinating. It was just global temperatures dropped a few degrees. This Little Ice Age.
Okay, that would be kind of sick though. Like,
if it just got colder. That would probably be better.
No, I think it would be cool if it just got hotter. Like, what if it just stayed where it was now? Like, the whole global warming thing stopped, but
man really just danced around every possible platform.
Every single yeah. Well, it's really interesting because we, as humanity, are actually within an interglacial period. So the normal status of the world.
Isn't that a Beastie Boys song?
I have no idea, but the normal status of the world is Ice Age. We are in basically a temporary respite from the Ice Age.
The normal status of the world is Ice Age?
For this geological era.
Yeah, why do you think it had 4 movies, bro?
We're in the middle of a very long Ice Age. Oh yeah, exactly. But
obligatory Ice Age joke.
Obligatory, yes.
You can't get anywhere without the pop culture references.
Did
Come
you say
on.
that damn squirrel?
Yeah, that's cool.
Scrat. But yeah, so it's interesting. Climatic effects are interesting. Although in terms of 100%, wiping out a civilization, it would really have to be intense, because even the worst effects of global warming possible, I'm not sure if those could 100% wipe out humanity. You'd have someone, you'd have some town that lives on a mountain, and it wouldn't completely wipe things out. It would be very bad, of course, but we're talking here about things that just not a single human left, or at least so few that they cannot ever recover. And yeah.
Is a great filter Walmart running out of bacon? Because I do not see humanity recovering if Walmart ran out of bacon.
Does Walmart sell
Walmart
bacon?
or Walmart as
Bro,
a chain?
Walmart sells everything. I'm sure.
What about Target?
Buy a human from Walmart.
I think if Target
That was a meme,
still
wasn't it? Wasn't that a meme?
I don't think you could do that anymore,
Target-
Brendan.
I think if Target has bacon, then I think we'll be fine.
Okay, if you shop at Target, that's another thing we need to talk
Target
about.
is a quality service provider.
Target's fine.
And there's Publix, so probably not
don't-
up there,
If
but
you shop at
Publix.
the Floridians will survive.
God, that really is. That's the marker.
That's true.
If you just get bonked over the head and you wake up, it's how you can determine your location is if there's a Publix or a Stop and Shop nearby.
Yep. Publix or Stop and Shop, exactly. Also, Starbucks.
And if you see a Denny's, you know you're screwed.
Oh no. Yeah. Waffle House.
Well, if you see Waffle House, you know you're home.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta love the
let's see.
Waffle
Denny's,
House.
Denny's Twitter is one of my favorite things.
I think Waffle House should rebrand to Waffle Home.
Waffle
Honestly.
Home.
I think that would be a good
It's
rebrand.
not a Waffle House. It's a Waffle Home.
Yeah.
That would
Already
actually
a home.
wait, okay, I'm not even kidding.
That would be a
wouldn't
great campaign.
That would not be a horrible rebrand.
We,
would not be
we
that
should
bad.
email them.
But-
like how we emailed Shaq.
Bro, he texted me back the other day, but it was some bot reply. The whole text me thing is just a scam for you to sign up to his texting.
Yeah,
list.
I did that with Brian
That
Cranston.
tracks.
because he was like, he just posted on his Instagram. He's like, text me. I'm like, hey Brian, and he's like, thanks for joining the mailing list. Your soul is mine.
No.
And I'm like, Walter White, you sly bastard.
Nice. Yeah.
God
It's
damn it,
interesting.
he's
So
coming again.
there are also some more like eccentric cosmic events that could cause a mass extinction. There are supernova events can occur. There are also gamma ray bursts. A gamma ray burst, which is an interesting sort of thing. We've seen them from very far away, and obviously we're fine when it's directed at us from very far away. But if it were closer, it would not be fine. I think we've
Is that
thoroughly
like a solar flare?
It's I forget what it's the death of a
Wait,
star. I
hang on.
think it's
Oh,
the death of
Okay.
a very, very massive star. And what it does is it
Hmm.
creates two jets like this that are perpendicular or parallel but anti-parallel to each other. Two jets that shoot off in opposite directions that are concentrated gamma ray bursts. And we've seen these things, from the side, and we've even seen them head on, but when they're head on, it's, very far away. And we're like, oh, if this were close, if this were even 100 light years away, that would be very bad. But I think we've
Well, I have a
thoroughly...
counter argument.
Yeah,
We all just become the Hulk, and I see no downside.
the Hulk.
Like, that would enhance humanity.
It would...
Actually, only
So it would strip
only
away the
I would
ozone
become
layer.
the host.
It would strip away the ozone layer. And then everyone would die.
But I'd be the Hulk, so I don't see a
Temporarily.
downside.
You don't see
but-
downsides with being the Hulk. Have you perchance watched any movie involving the Hulk?
I would be the Hulk.
That would mean you'd be
Bro.
associated with
Bro.
Mark Ruffalo. Is that a fate that you can live with?
Mark...
I
What?
don't know what fate
Okay.
meant.
Anyway.
In theory,
what
if
happened to
everyone
him?
is the Hulk, then everyone is like
If
the
everyone's
same
the
level
Hulk.
of.
Okay,
see your
Syndrome.
Yeah.
If everyone's special, then no one
If
is.
I woke up tomorrow and every
incredible.
single person on Earth was the Hulk, I wouldn't go, oh, this is normal. I'd go, wow, everyone on Earth is the Hulk.
Okay.
Tell me that's
Okay,
not the
okay.
best refutation to Syndrome's entire thing. You'd be like, yeah,
Honestly,
sure,
yeah.
but I'd much
Yeah.
rather
Then
be able to
everyone.
make toast with my mind.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I think society would like up everything so that it would just be normal again, like inflation,
yeah,
but for
100%.
everything.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
because sports would lose
Yeah.
everything. You
Mm.
know,
Bro, football would become death. Like,
you
Imagine-
think it would continue? The only sport would be rugby, because now no one
Or
can
they
get
would
hurt.
say
think
you're not
sporting
allowed.
would-
They would probably say if you go into Hulk mode, you're out. Like it's a penalty.
Ooh.
Because
oh,
it's
I
I
like
feel like-
because when he's not in
Hulk.
when he's not in Hulk mode, he's just Mark Ruffalo. He's just like
But the issue
Yeah.
is when you're the Hulk, you're just basically
Yeah.
walking roid rage. Like you can't
Pretty
think. You're just angry.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
do not
before you
know.
can say that's a
Everyone
penalty,
I
wants
you
think
have
that's a
to
great
say like,
filter in and of itself.
Honestly.
You don't think someone might Hulk out and then launch all the nukes?
Yeah.
All I'm
Just the
saying is
dude
there's a
working.
reason
Just
we
it basically
have-
just it's basically just a world where no one has correct anger management. Like everyone just has anger management issues. That is
There's a
essentially
reason we kept Sebastian fed. It is to avoid that very particular.
I
filter.
need a constant
angry
stream of
man.
talkies, or else I will rip things in half. Trees,
But yeah, thankfully though,
cars, assorted
Anytime I
Thankfully-
go over to film with him, I
Lunchables.
bring him talkies because I know
We-
if I don't,
yeah,
it's just the end of the
same.
world.
so
Same,
we
but
have
it has to be alpha location.
It does.
we
It
have
does actually
we have
alpha
surveyed the nearest stars, right? And we know that none of these very dangerous cosmic events are going to occur in our proximity close enough to harm us anytime soon. So, not going to happen. But if we were in a different part of the galaxy, which is just interesting to think about, that you've heard of the solar system's habitable zone, right? Like if you're too close to the sun, it's too hot, and if you're too far, it's too
I
cold.
talk about that
So
in my latest video. You can check me out.
Nice.
128 seconds.
128 seconds. But yeah, so the Earth is at the right distance from the sun. But it also turns out that the sun is the right distance from the center of the galaxy. If we were too close to the center of the galaxy, the density of stars increases, so there would just be more stars nearby and more destructive stars nearby, and that would result in some issues. But it's also possible to be too far out. When you're too far out, I think it sort of decreases the metallicity of a star, so like planets wouldn't form in the first place. So we're right at that happy medium. So yeah. But maybe there are other alien civilizations out there that have been wiped out by extraneous cosmic events. And I mean, think about it. If we saw a star that was in the process of going supernova 1,000 light years away, or it would probably be closer, say 100. There's nothing we could do about that, realistically, because an asteroid, you can nudge it out of the way. But this is like a splash damage effect. You know, anyone within
1,000 years, though.
Well, it depends. It's really just we can't tell the stage of, like, I think, what is it, Betelgeuse?
Mm-hmm.
We think could go supernova at any moment, but it's far enough away that it wouldn't like destroy everything. It could go supernova at any moment, but we don't know which moment, and we think it'll be sometime in the next 1,000 years. Betelgeuse.
Which one?
I can look up it. Betelgeuse.
Which one?
You heard me.
Funny name.
You got very close.
What?
It's the movie. If you say his name 3 times, he gets summoned.
3 times. It's 3 times in a row. Nothing
So
in between.
you were gonna try. Wow.
He did say it 3 times in a row because when he originally
No, but he said
it.
words in between. You can't do that.
Yeah, not in a row. The
Yeah.
key part is in a row.
Disappointing.
Wow, you almost summoned Michael Keaton himself.
Ooh.
Yes.
Beetlejuice?
I'm just looking at, oh yeah, so the star that is called Betelgeuse
Yes.
happens to be 548 light years away, which is a safe distance for a supernova. But if it were much closer, that would not be true. And the only way to combat that...
If it went supernova on the 4th of July.
Yeah, actually, when it goes supernova, it will look very pretty, actually.
Oh, wait, really? No, okay, that's
You will be able to see it during the day.
So sick.
This occurred in like the 1500s. Yeah, exactly. There was a star that went supernova near us in the 1500s. You've heard of the Crab
Great
Nebula,
year for
right?
radio. Yeah.
The Crab Nebula that we see today, which is like a nebula, a faint object in the night sky.
Yeah.
That's that event. Before the 1500s, there was no Crab Nebula. There was just a star, a bright star. It went supernova sometime in the 1500s. They recorded it. I forget which year, but it happened, and now it's the Crab Nebula. Isn't that interesting?
Nice.
But for about a month, it could be seen during the day. That's how bright these things are. So I'm very excited for.
Oh, in the 1500s, they must have thought they were just donezo.
Yeah, they were probably like, uh-oh, this can't be good. Very,
Must have
very
been like the Mayans were off by.
Yeah, exactly. But, right, the only way to survive a nearby supernova is to physically leave your star system. Like, go on an interstellar voyage, which would be much harder to do than to deflect an asteroid. We could feasibly deflect an asteroid right now, but if there was a star nearby that was going to go supernova and we had to somehow escape it, there would be very, very little we could do because our current methods of interstellar travel, it would take tens of thousands of years, and you'd probably get hit by the blast in transit anyway. But you could build the spaceship like a bunker, whereas you can't.
Or you could build the spaceship like
into a bunker.
Surfboard. All right. And you ride the wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could actually do that. That's called a light sail.
NASA, if you're
There's a
looking
word.
for someone to hire,
Yeah, laser
yes,
sail,
I
light
am
sail, solar
available.
sail.
And single.
It's the same thing, and single. It's the same. You're going to date the entire agency of NASA, like the entity of NASA.
They need a win.
They've got cash. Actually,
Wow.
not that much.
Okay.
Actually, not that much.
They really do not.
Yeah, date the military.
Yeah.
Date Social Security.
Bro,
They're the largest part of the
Well, I don't know. How long are they going to be around, though?
Uh-oh.
I don't know how
People
long
always
that
say
was.
it's gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I think that covers great filters. So
Yeah.
unless you guys can think of any others, this might
I
be why we're
think,
not seeing aliens.
Yeah.
Maybe these events are so common. Actually, I would like to add, there are some great filters that we've already passed, and we don't really think of them as great filters because we passed them, but we don't know the probabilities of these events. For instance, the development of prokaryotes about 1 billion years ago, which was, or no, wait, eukaryotes. Everything was prokaryotes before then, and that's just bacteria that can't form multicellular life. But then they became eukaryotes. That's when the mitochondria became the powerhouse of the cell. And that event was a very chance encounter, and it might be a lot rarer than we think. And it might never happen. So there might be planets across the galaxy. Maybe every single planet in the galaxy is just a slime ball covered in prokaryotes, and there's not a single eukaryote out there.
You brought me back to 7th grade. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
exactly. Other possibilities are the development of intelligence itself might be rare, might not be actually a very useful adaptation for most animals because humans basically invested in intelligence at the cost of everything else. That's why we don't have, claws or sharp teeth or anything. We just go for the intelligence.
And now we have
trait.
to go to school.
Yeah.
Now we
Wrong
gotta pay
decision.
taxes.
So I came up with one more great filter. I think if 2B2T ever updates
my
out
God.
of 1.12,
2B2T.
if
Oh my
the
gosh.
oldest anarchy server on
The
Minecraft
oldest anarchy
ever
server
updates.
in Minecraft.
ever updates to 1.16, we're done.
Do you watch Fit MC?
Dude, bro, I mean they're good videos.
They are pretty funny.
Sometimes it gets a little stupid. Did you see
Kind
the
of.
title of his most recent one?
Oh,
Some
wait.
group built a massive obsidian OO in the sky.
Yes. Yes.
And I watched a grown man say, I listened to a grown man say
It
OO
was-
for 25
Yeah,
minutes.
that was pretty funny.
Why
He
did
was
humans ever get granted
was like,
sentience?
on the oldest anarchy server in
Oh,
Minecraft.
A
Oh,
massive
God.
OO
Oh,
has been constructed.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's so anyway. I love those videos. The Fit MC videos are pretty funny actually. The weekly updates. But anyway.
That's
So-
only to 128 seconds on YouTube.
So yeah, so these great filters that might have come before us, we obviously wouldn't know how rare they are. There's a ton of other things, like having a moon that is as massive as our moon is likely requisite to develop life. Having a
Why?
planet with
Tides.
How does
for
the
tidal
moon-
effects.
Tides.
Tidal effects. Stirs up the ocean, creates energy.
Yeah.
Abiogenesis. But other things are, plate tectonics. If there were no plate tectonics, the entire world would be covered in water because all the continents would be eroded and nothing would create new continents. And if life was permanently underwater, no matter how smart it got, it could never create anything more than stone tools. You'd be stuck at stone. You could never get iron. There is no Bronze Age, no metals because you need fire for that, and fire does not work underwater, unfortunately.
That's
So
what you
Well, I mean,
you're just not motivated.
not motivated enough. There is no way, if Earth were 100% covered in water, at the very most you could get a species that has stone tools, but that's it.
Well-
If you lit a fire big enough, you could get rid of the water.
What else? What else could they do, Camilla?
you could have there are underwater volcanoes, first of all, and second of all, I hate the analogy I'm about to make, but you know how in
Yeah.
Minecraft where you're underwater and you can build a dirt shack and drain it?
I don't think that's. You see, I don't think they.
Physic.
I don't think that would.
Yeah.
I'm just
You
saying.
just don't have
Well,
an
no,
open
because
mind.
you would need to pump air in,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You would need to
Buckets,
pump
hello?
air in. Also, you would need, hydraulics and
You
be
literally
able to
would just
create
need a bucket.
airtight
I
things,
don't know why this
and
is
that
so complicated.
requires, bronze and stuff, smelting. Yeah, it's just unlikely, very unlikely. So having continents is likely a great filter. So those are things that might be why we're not seeing aliens. I think, personally, I
Great
hope.
filters just sound like grand scale natural selection.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually what it is. It's grand scale. It's just universal natural selection. I hope that all the great
humans
filters
have
are
plot
behind us.
armor.
Humans have plot armor. Yeah,
Humans have plot armor.
that's true. It's the anthropic principle, actually. We do actually have plot armor. Because if we had died or had not passed some sort of great filter, would we be here to remark upon it?
Seb, we need to do a plot timeline of Earth.
You really do.
Yeah, that reminds me of 7th grade. That sounds like a horrible idea.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
not
I
like
remember that. The
No,
scale model.
no,
that was
no.
Literally
a giant
have-
piece
Wait,
of paper.
no.
Literally did that already. Thank you. I'm
Not
good.
like-
Miss
not like
Nikita, I
that.
love you, but no.
Well, way to dox people.
Okay,
You know
anyway,
how many-
so let's go to alien biology. So how might alien biology be different than human biology? So this is interesting.
I have
because
I have 2 words.
Don't.
So
No.
this might be interesting because in most sci-fi shows, the aliens are pretty much just humans with like face paint or
Or British
an
people.
extra or like horns or spikes
Every
or something.
alien
Like
ever is British on
Every
TV.
single alien ever is
Why?
British.
I always
Why?
find
Have
that
you
the
seen those
complex-
lads?
yeah, the complexity
Have you seen those rubs?
the complexity of like some alien on a given sci-fi show is always inversely proportional to how many of them there are. Like if it's right in the classic sci-fi, like Star Trek setup where you've got like a crew, right? The one alien crewmate can have some pretty elaborate, makeup and prosthetics for the character because you only have to have one of them. But whenever they go down to a planet, it's just like normal people, except they just have like dots on their cheeks or something.
Yeah,
Like,
Worf was probably like really good makeup for the time to do like the Klingon makeup. That was probably seen as really good or really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. So the thing is, this probably would not be how aliens would look. Like, why would they be humanoid? There's no real. Well, there might be because it depends. It depends on how intense the great filters are. The great filters might be so intense. It's convergent evolution, I think it's called. It's the opposite of divergent, but
It also depends on if there's something about like the human shape and form and biological components that helped us survive longer that we don't know about. That,
yeah, exactly.
Like again, natural select. Brendan, stop.
Yep.
Natural selection. It might be that like something about the way that we're put together as human beings might transfer on to like being useful.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that our backs are so unbelievably screwed up, but that's besides the point.
There's something called carcination, which is this thing that biologists have noticed that the model of a crab has independently developed multiple times throughout Earth's history.
Because crabs are the ultimate life form.
That something about being a crab.
No, right? What he's talking about is this is real. Things cannot stop evolving into crabs. There is
and these are completely unrelated
with crabs.
Beings. They have no genetic link, right? No genetic link, no relation to each other. Independently become crabs because their environments are favorable to crab-like beings. Reject humanity, become crab.
That's what I was going to start with, is that their biology depends on their environment because, again, natural selection. Evolution, baby.
Yep.
You think if we were crab people, would we have ended up with the Denny's Is Denny's inevitable to human evolution?
Denny's inevitable. Would the crab people have created Denny's?
I think so.
I think so.
I think crab people would have only
Had
created
Denny's.
Only had
and that's what
Denny's.
scares me the most.
But except
That's your worst
the
nightmare.
logo design and everything about the Denny's is completely 100% the same because it is inevitable.
Oh my! Yeah, it's a it's convergent evolution. Well, it's interesting because another example that people might be more familiar with is the hyena. People think of hyenas as a type of dog, but they're actually more similar to cats. They're descended from a common ancestor.
I thought you were about to say crabs, and I was
No.
I was so ready to disagree.
Yeah, this one's not as extreme, but people are always like, "Oh, the hyena," like when they're listing dogs, but it's actually a cat-like being. So that's just interesting. So it's just this convergent evolution, and it might be that the way to develop intelligent spacefaring civilizations is so specific, and there are so many great filters eliminating different species either through extinction or just through making it impossible for them to become a spacefaring civilization. There might be so many different things like that. The probabilities of passing these great filters might be so low that everything is corralled into the human model. That would be the only feasible way for aliens to be very humanoid. However, I don't know. It's difficult. We don't know the probabilities.
I just want to point out really quickly that anytime Max and I have an interaction on this stream, like, it sounds like we scripted something to present it in front of a class, because I'll say something and Max will be like, yeah, there's a word for that actually, and then he goes into explanation.
Yeah, this is unscripted.
That's not on purpose. It's just really funny to me. It's happened like 3 times now.
Nice. Yeah.
Wait, you still keep up the bit that this isn't scripted?
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is
Blowing us wide open.
Every
We were gonna
single
save that
word.
to the season 8 reveal, dude.
Why do you think I'm not looking at the camera? I'm actually reading a script right now, and even this part is actually scripted.
This is
Mr.
Brendan
Fury
realizing
there.
he's in the Truman Show.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Seb,
watched an
you took
analysis
my
of
line.
that the other day, and now I want to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I watched it a few weeks ago, The Truman Show. But yeah,
it's
so
kind of terrifying though.
it is. But
I
hey,
haven't seen it. Do I
Sebastian,
watch it
you
or
never
no?
know. I'm getting 6 figures from this.
I take solace in the fact that I have moved across the country, so I can verifiably say that I'm not in The Truman Show.
How do you know you have though?
Sebastian's
Well,
never left
because
his
how
bedroom.
else could I have moved across the country?
Yeah, it would be so easy to indoctrinate me into a Truman Show because you need like 8
You need the
characters.
CVS, you need CVS,
Yeah, that's
and you
true
need,
too.
Like,
For me, the character count is low, but
You would need like 3 sets. It would be
Yeah.
so easy to put me into the
Okay.
Truman Show.
yeah, exactly. Depends on how long a period of time it is. Because
I
if it's
feel like-
for my whole life, I would
Figuring it out.
recognize.
I feel like
Because I've
that
moved,
should be a
you know, but-
measure. That should be some measure
Oh,
of like
the Truman
your
Show
life.
index.
Yeah, the Truman Show index. How easy is it?
How-
How easy
yep.
would it be to indoctrinate you into
Yeah.
the Truman Show?
I
Probability
truly think
from
I
0
might
to
be-
1 that you would get
I might be
indoctrinated.
number 1 in here, because I wake up, I go to school, I go to swim.
I
and
don't
then
even
just
go.
play
I don't
video
even
games.
go to school.
Yeah, I just sit
You
inside.
that
Me
right
neither.
there. That requires an extra set.
The show started underperforming. They had to cut the sets.
They had to cut the budget.
During
Yep,
COVID,
yep.
and now you're in online school.
Exactly.
There was an actor and writer's strike, so you only got 50% participation on any given day.
Yep.
Truman Show goes Zoom.
Exactly.
Oh
That's
my gosh, yeah.
Actually, so funny to think about it like
Tell me
that.
that's not a Black Mirror episode right now.
Oh, yeah,
Tell me that's not a Black Mirror episode. He gets
Scott,
so
do they
the
have
main
any-
character gets
Oh,
thrown
man.
in,
Do
and
they have any new episodes?
it's everyone they've ever
like
known is just
season
replaced
5?
by algorithms.
Yeah, I know. They did season 5. They had like 3 episodes. Have they made any
I
more?
haven't watched it at all. I need to watch
I
it.
want to
Everyone
watch
they've
it.
ever known is just replaced by an algorithm. Isn't that like, what you guys were? Fuck, what were you? Am I allowed to say that word?
We get one
Yeah, yeah,
per
you-
straight. Wait, that's just a.
Sorry.
It's kind of a
It
fake
doesn't matter.
rule.
It doesn't matter.
But
It's a fake. You can say it however much you want.
Wait,
That's
you get in
I.
trouble
I
if So it's
because we don't want to be kid friendly. This stream is not intended for
No,
children.
so my
right?
point with that was, Sab, what was that thing you were talking about where like everyone goes digital and you upload your mind into like?
Oh, technological
Oh, yeah.
immortality. Yeah. So we've talked about that in a lot of earlier streams about the technological advancements. Basically, that deals with uploading your consciousness, which actually
Yeah,
Elon Musk is venturing into right now.
Oh yeah.
So then
that's fun.
everyone would be an algorithm, like the Black Mirror episode you were just talking about.
That's
what that immediately reminded me of.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
It would just be a very developed.
Yeah.
I would say we are all already algorithms. It's just the
Elaborate.
okay,
substrate.
Max.
The
Okay.
substrate is the
I mean,
human
yeah,
mind.
that's what your brain is. Your brain, when people say your brain is a
Yeah.
computer, it's because it functions like a computer. You have algorithms, you have pattern recognition. Like the
Yeah,
whole
recognition
Pavlov
of
thing
pathways
is
so
just
that you can
yeah.
remember
I
things.
think computer
Memory is the
functions
coolest
like
thing,
brain.
man.
It is, yeah.
I mean,
Which one came
computers
first?
used to.
The computer
computers
or
used
the
to-
egg? It is not a. It is not
What
a.
the hell is
computer.
Brendan talking about?
Computers
Brain
used to
came
run
first.
on
I think that
vacuum tubes,
computer-
right? Like I don't know the
Your brain
development
is
of
like
computers.
a computer because computers were modeled to do functions that our brain does. I
Yeah.
think computers are like brains, not brains are like computers.
Okay. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
okay,
it's the
that's
same
fair.
thing, isn't it?
It's the same thing.
It's a
but I need to be
biconditional.
right, so I'm gonna say my point louder and again.
Okay.
That's how you win debates, dude. I'm telling you right now. As resident fourth speaker.
I mean, you can say birds are like dinosaurs and dinosaurs are like birds. Neither statement is incorrect.
Well, can you prove dinosaurs existed? No, you can't.
Yes, we can, and we have.
You
on
see, the
this live
fossils
stream.
were actually put there.
Actually, some of the,
The
teachers at our
fossils-
school, I
No,
believe it.
this is something I've heard before. Fossils were actually put there by Satan to sow doubt in humanity.
I wonder who's saying that, Max. What group of
Not gonna say who.
individuals?
Fine gentlemen.
I don't feel the need to specify. I don't feel the need to specify which group.
Okay.
They know who they are.
We know who they are.
Anyway,
Watch out, Max. You're gonna lose a lot of your viewership if you denounce them.
it depends. It depends. It depends.
It
Everyone knows
really
they gather
does
together on
depend.
Sunday nights.
Well, I don't
They
think.
sit around
I
the
don't think.
telly.
Okay, listen. I don't think that someone that doesn't believe that dinosaurs existed is really watching this channel.
Ooh, facts.
Well, I guess my viewership is just unappreciated.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so what else about alien biology? It would be really hard to predict alien biology just because again, we don't know the probability of those great filter things, so they are either going to be similar to humans or just not at all in a way that we can't comprehend,
Yeah.
that we can't imagine, that we can't think of just because it's not like they would just be like some other animal on Earth because they would have a completely different evolution. Like they wouldn't just be, it's just as unlikely for like aliens to be humanoid. It's just as unlikely for them to be any other oid, you know, canoid, pheloid,
Paranoid.
whatever. Paranoid, yeah.
Paranoid android.
Android. Yeah, it's just there's no,
Annoyed.
yeah, annoyed.
Polaroid.
It's possible they might be like. Well, this is an interesting one.
planet,
People talk about.
but
People like to talk about
Everyone
silicon
is
space.
built like Sebastian.
Oh no.
Wherever, but that's impossible, Brendan. I'm built different.
The food pyramid is not a pyramid. It is just a picture of a talkie. That is.
And that should be a goddamn lesson to everyone out there. I consist of nothing. My diet is nothing but Takis and seltzer. And you might
Oh, no.
look at me, and I am not obese. I am not any of that, despite Brendan's comments. But I'm telling you, what keeps me healthy is because I don't really do too much exercise. What keeps me healthy is this incredibly hot room. I don't know if you guys, Camilla knows this, but
It's steamy.
you also
It's
know
like-
this, yeah.
82 degrees.
Oh, that's on a
consistently.
cold day. This here, and I'm wearing
You would be
jeans.
perfect.
I
for Florida.
only wear jeans. It is like 85
Nice.
degrees. It is
You don't wear the
nice.
shorts?
I don't wear the jorts. I don't. But the thing is that it's just that and not drinking soda. That's what keeps me from not ballooning up. I'm
No,
telling you.
you eat something else. You eat Takis, you drink seltzer, and you eat Swiss.
Alien.
I do eat Swiss cheese. I eat a lot of that.
Sometimes, for context, sometimes we get on call and we're like, and he leaves to get a snack and he comes back, and I'm like, hey, what'd you get for a snack? And he just goes Swiss.
Swiss.
He comes back with a 200-pound wheel of Swiss cheese.
Yeah, it's like,
So
dude, I'm telling you, the sound of me eating Swiss cheese is horrific.
here's a
It
question.
sounds like you just dropped a slab of meat into a shark nursery. It's horrific.
So I think an interesting thing about alien biology might be the random things that can poison them. The random things that they are allergic to, essentially, as a species.
What if they're allergic to Takis?
And it's not going to be like
The
water.
only thing they fear is me.
Okay.
Technically, everyone is allergic to capsaicin. Capsaicin is a poison. We just choose to ingest it anyway.
Well, you know that one movie, like, whatever. I don't even. It doesn't deserve to be
Oh
named.
yeah, that one.
Because it has a bad plot. The plot is that the aliens can be killed with water.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Dude, I remember my
That
dad
is not gonna happen.
yelling
That's not
about
gonna
that
happen.
movie when I was
Yeah.
like a
Bad
child.
Plot twist. Bad movie. It's so horrible. Okay.
It's so dumb.
There's a few things wrong with
What
it.
is this? The Wizard of Oz? What movie is this? I don't understand.
These aliens come to Earth and
I don't
like
even
this,
I don't even remember the title because it's such a bad movie. Why
basically
would I remember
the
the title
twist
of a movie?
the movie was that these aliens were incredibly allergic to water and could be killed with
So
like
stupid.
drops of water. And so they came
Yeah.
to Earth, which is 71%
Yeah, exactly.
water.
And also, right? The main metric for how we determine whether or not a planet in space might be habitable is whether or not it has liquid water. Which is like it might not be true of all aliens because there might actually be different things, but we're like pretty certain that water is necessary for life.
Have we checked?
Like
for
there is
I also,
no animal on
I also
Earth.
talked
Under
about
our
that in my
definition
latest
of
video.
life, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything on Earth can handle water. It's just the dumbest movie.
I
mean,
think that
We've
the planet
we've had to shift our definition of life before though because of things like
That's true.
viruses. So, you know.
I'm not sure if viruses are even considered life yet.
They are.
They are in
They are.
they're in the half and half zone, I thought.
They're in between, which is why we've had to like reconsider. A lot of people are reconsidering our definition of what counts as life. So maybe if something like checks all the boxes except for water, we could do the same thing. But I don't really.
Yeah. I would
My
say
dog has entered the
viruses.
room.
If it don't drink, it don't think. That is my motto. I will stand by it.
I don't
Sure,
think
my
I don't
dog?
think viruses are alive.
Yes,
Just on a
let's see.
personal
Let's see
note.
the dog. This is the first evidence of alien life. Look at this thing.
Hey, you know my catchphrase: bark, bark.
There it is.
Aw.
She burst into my room. I don't even know if she can leave now. She kind
Oh,
of-
you know
Put
what?
her
You know
down.
what
Put her
I-
down as a guest. Put her down as a
Oh yeah,
guest.
I'll
Come on.
put that down as a guest in the
I
description.
thought you were
You
bringing
know
it
what?
somewhere else when you said put her down and then pause for half a second.
As a guest. You know what I just found out? I found out that there's a Twitter account called the Oval Pawfus, and it's Joe Biden's dogs, and I find that funny.
Oh.
Oh, paw, as in P-A-W.
Yeah. All of the
I was
tweets,
thinking
all of the
prisoner
tweets-
war.
all of the tweets are like, they've got like bad dog puns, but like there was one. It was like, I don't even.
Just
remember.
bombed Syria. Bark.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's the problem with having political people's
Oh
dogs.
my god.
Because political people don't tend to be very. There tends to be lots of
Yeah.
problems. But anyway, I just found it interesting. So,
Oh, we do have some interesting chat.
Oh,
let's see what the
you
chat
have chat?
says. I don't see any.
We've one from Yui.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Good job.
Okay, we have We have Math Cubes. Math Cubes says, 2 viewers, wow.
Well,
You
first of all,
says,
just
good joke.
unnecessary. Just
Ha ha,
unnecessary.
Matt.
We have
really.
6 viewers
No,
right now, by
I,
the way. Math cubes.
It's fine. It's fine. I got into a little debate with Math Cubes in the comments section of my Artemis video about that 1967 Outer Space Treaty. If you want, you can go see that.
I am so intrigued.
No hard
I
feelings.
want to
Matt.
see. I want to see Gravity Max throw down.
Yeah.
It was a respectful debate. I don't know if he's left
Yeah.
another response
Your
yet.
YouTube
Actually,
comment section.
maybe he left another response and he wants me to
2
respond
viewers,
to it.
World of Warcraft.
Dude, the
It was basically
comment
just that
section,
bullet.
the comment section
Yeah.
of my Greece abandonment migrant video, that one, that is the most
Oh, it's probably pretty bad.
insane comment section ever. I think I have to
Yeah.
talk about it in my next stream, just because of how heated it got. Because
Dang, people are like,
yeah, you got people from both sides of the aisle.
interesting.
Yeah, but we got some more chat after that one.
Let's
someone
see,
said,
we've got-
"Loving the Yui guy." Thank you.
I don't see anything
I
yet.
really don't see that either.
Then someone said, "Good joke!" Exclamation point. That's good.
Yeah, I
And then-
saw. Okay. Anyway,
And then
so
someone sent in a bunch of dabbing emojis.
Jesus.
okay,
It was
alien
me.
biology. Is there anything else? I can't really think of anything.
I
But,
can think of one thing.
So Camilla, you brought
We
your
could
dog in,
redo
right?
our
And so,
time system. BC
dogs-
and AD. I put it in chat.
Yeah, I
So
saw.
dogs are actually
Mhm.
susceptible to a lot of things that are poisonous, and if you're a dog owner, you probably know them. Grapes, chocolate. Those are the ones I can think of. But
Grapes?
Grapes.
grapes and
Grapes.
chocolate,
Cranberries.
You can't give your dog
and shrimp.
grapes.
Yeah.
which is
What'd you
just
say?
Cranberries,
strange.
I think. I've heard they are not
Probably.
good.
it would make
They're
sense.
they're not good. I don't know if they're like death.
Yeah.
Aliens
I also know that.
might just be, they might have these things be poison to them. So like not water, that's stupid, but like lemonade maybe, that makes sense. Or
yeah, citrus. Or
I would argue
you
that
know,
is
actually,
as stupid.
Takis was a good point because like
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
After I
Absolutely.
eat a bag of Takis and like I pet my dog,
yeah,
he does
spice.
he does the stanky leg for like 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah.
Also, again, Max, it sounds scripted. It's like, yeah, Camilla, you brought in your dog, right? Well, on the
Oh,
subject.
I was just making segues, But
Yeah, like you're so good at it that it
comes
sounds like it's
together.
written
He's
down.
the transition master.
I'm the segue
Yeah, really.
guy.
Catalyst for this chaos.
So another interesting thing is like what sort of
Tell me that's not a good band name.
behavioral
Catalyst for the Chaos. That is a dope
Catalyst
band
for the
name.
Catalyst for chaos
Or-
is way
what
better.
sort
Yeah,
of-
just straight up
Drop the
catalyst,
the.
or just
Drop
like
the
chaos
yeah.
catalyst.
Mm.
That'd be fun.
So what sort of behavioral instincts might aliens have? Like that's an
I
interesting
think
thing
you
to
need
think
some
about.
kind of survival instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I mean-
that's an interesting.
Yeah,
thing.
that's like the one thing I'm sure
I was
about.
talking about this before. Is that aliens, spacefaring aliens, like if aliens come to see us, they are going to have some sort of competitive drive within them, like humans have, to expand and to explore the stars. I mean, that's why humans have spread across the entire planet because we have
not
the
even
drive.
just
to do
for
so.
that though. Not
Yeah.
even just for that. Like I can't speak today. A competitive instinct also like it probably came from natural selection, making it so that you would go for the food if there was someone else already there,
Mhm.
or competitive instinct. No, yeah, I can only
it's
trying to
as
find a
simple as
mate.
that.
Like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
would want your own genes to continue on in reproduction. So I think that's where it kind of stems from.
Yeah,
And it would
exactly. It's-
obviously it would probably keep going the way it did with humans, so that you would have competitive instincts with other things. But I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, this just applies to all life on Earth, and that is that a non-competitive individual is less likely to survive and reproduce than a competitive individual.
I
Although
find
that-
it to be extremely passive.
That only comes up to an extent, though, because I imagine if an individual, especially for like human society, is too competitive, then everyone will also be like, okay, this guy is a jerk. we're kicking him out of our.
Yeah, Max.
Thank you. We're kicking him out of our like Neolithic tribe,
Yeah.
and so then he's just gonna starve to death on
Well,
his
that
own.
goes right into the next bit, which is alien
Oh yes,
culture.
alien culture.
Because this is what I was talking about earlier. Is, of course, you need the survival instinct, and you need the stuff that comes from that. But based on the level of danger that these aliens are in, different things will, like, it'll be to different extremes. Like, for example, taking Earth as a baseline, if you have an alien planet with, what are you listening to?
A Highlander ad. That's my bad. I didn't know my volume was up so high.
If you had a planet that was more rich in food and other resources than Earth, you're gonna get less selfishness, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, less of a need to, or less of that inherent fear that you're not gonna have enough, because there is enough. But take the opposite.
Less competitive nature.
Exactly. Take the opposite, and you're going to get the opposite. You're going to get tougher creatures that have more of an every man for himself attitude, stuff like that.
But then,
it'll be
if
interesting
you have
also.
a plentiful resource, like if you have plentiful resources where you're living, then wouldn't you get kind of like an inflation effect where you would have enough resources until you don't?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because the more resources you have, the faster the population increases. So that is definitely
and then you don't have enough
a factor. Yeah, absolutely.
anymore.
That's a very smart observation.
It would be
So I
interesting.
feel like everything would eventually get to the point of like competitive instinct, even if it's not already there,
Well, it's interesting if so humans are omnivores, right? But intelligent beings could either be carnivores or herbivores, right? And so that would really change. Yeah, that would really change how. That would really change the culture of some species, because dogs and cats, right, legitimately are carnivores, as in they cannot survive healthily on a non-meat based diet. They can eat some like plants and vegetables and stuff, but not as the primary staple.
They can eat
of their diet.
cheese.
And I'm directing that at crazy vegans. Okay.
Yes.
Not all vegans, but the crazy ones that demand that their dogs.
A little redundant.
That is animal abuse, I would say. Redundant. Okay, fine. But yeah, so there might be a species like that is carnivorous, and how might that affect their culture? They would have more of a hunting instinct within them, that could increase
I'm
sort of
shift
aggressiveness.
over to alien culture.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. How this applies to culture.
I was just shifting the actual slide. Like.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I was saying.
Yeah. Good idea. But yeah, how would this impact their culture, whether they're herbivores or carnivores? If they are herbivores, it would probably lead to a sort of less extreme culture than what we have, whereas a carnivorous species would probably have a more intense culture. I have this book concept where I have these aliens, and I want them to have sort of like a dueling thing, like fights to the death is just parts of their society, except it's not like they've gotten to the point in this book where it's like both people have to agree to it, right? And it's like an honor thing. And if they don't agree to it, then it's illegal. But I mean, that's essentially how it used to be in like the American colonies. But it used to be legal to duel. Like that was just a thing that you could do.
In like the Wild West too.
Yeah, and in the South actually for a while, a lot of sort of this honor, this concept of honor. I imagine a carnivorous species would have more of that sort of concept.
Yeah. So you take those societies. Yeah, I would definitely probably want to meet an herbivore society if I had to choose
Yeah.
aliens to come down. Herbivore society that just comes from the most lush planet ever, so they've never had to fight for anything. It's a massive
They're just
planet.
hippies.
And yeah, they're just space
Yeah.
pirate hippies.
Yeah, exactly. That would be an optimal scenario.
Which is, yes, it is a movie title, but it is also a very good band name.
Yep. But it's also interesting, sort of, there are a lot of animal species on Earth that'll have, say, 100 kids, and like 90% of them will die, and they're just like, yes, this is fine. Like, mosquitoes or
Right,
like,
yeah.
right? And what if there's an alien species like that? Sharks will actually eat like other young sharks, like of their own species. They engage in cannibalism. Not of their
What's
own
that?
like kids necessarily, but of the neighbors' kids. What if that is just
species
part
that's
of,
like-
you know?
Oh, isn't it the praying mantis that like?
Oh yeah, the praying mantis sexual habits. Yeah.
Isn't
The
it
mating
they eat
rituals.
the male? I forget.
Yeah, the female
I forget.
eats the
It's been
male.
too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Does he
Yeah,
just
the
let
praying
that
mantis.
happen? Like he's
I
like,
guess.
My time has come.
My time has come.
Yeah, I did what I wanted. Crank it up.
How this is the question. There might be some aspects of alien culture that derive from alien biology that might horrify us.
Ooh, yeah. Like, imagine they're all normal,
Yeah.
and then they just bust out this crazy ass thing, and we're like,
Yeah,
excuse
exactly.
me?
Like they're all normal, and then they just, I don't know, like eat their children or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. I was gonna say, it's like, you're just having a very nice conversation with someone from the Crab Nebula, and then you're just talking with them, and you're just discussing like alien sports and stuff, and they're like, they just all of a sudden stand up. They're like, oh, it's 10:45, and they just go over and just shake the hell out of their toddler. What the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like,
exactly.
don't you know it's Wednesday? And you're like, what?
Yep. But that's the thing.
Oh my
Then
God.
everything is also reciprocal. Some of the things that we do
child
might
shakes them
horrify
back.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
human
like-
practices would horrify the
Right,
aliens? That's an
We
interesting
have human practices that horrify other humans. It's
Hmm.
completely plausible that this would happen like across like light years away. You know.
They're like,
Yeah, and there's also
the
things-
Easter what?
Yep,
I'm
and there's
sorry.
also things
So
that
you're
we
saying
don't do
a
that
winged
horrify
tiny
them.
creature goes into your children's bedrooms at night and pays for their teeth?
Tell me more about this tooth demon.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
More about the tooth merchant.
tell me more about the teeth demon.
But yeah, I mean, that's the least of our worries, having a strange local, like, mythical figure. Because at least those aren't real, you know?
To our knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, just look at like whales. I mean, if you want weird
Just
mythical
look
creatures,
at whales.
just go to Wales. Isn't there that thing?
Just
with
go
the
to
horse head?
Wales if you want to see
Skeleton
mythical creatures.
You know what I'm
Whale.
talking about?
Those
The horse head.
people are weird.
You know what? That horse head thing where the horse head goes to your door and then it like knocks on your door and it's like a
Yeah.
skeleton of a horse. And then they
Right.
start singing to you, and then
Yeah.
you have to sing back. And
Yes.
if
Dude,
if you
know-
don't sing good enough, like you have a rap battle, and then if you
Yeah.
lose, then the horse gets to come in and raid your beer pantry.
Yes.
What is happening?
Don't you know about this?
I'm in a
This is
fever
Welsh,
dream.
right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
I know exactly
you know
what you're
would be
talking about.
absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what I want to see happen?
Bro, I tuned
wanna
out for 30 seconds and you start talking about this? I thought this simulation glitch.
Camilla, go ahead. What are you saying?
I want to see their reaction to the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
I
have-
want to see their reaction to memes.
What do you think alien internet would look like? Do you think they would like have it properly
Alien internet.
moderated? Like we just start using their internet, we're like, this is so much better.
This is so.
Oh my
Well,
god.
It
depends
depends.
on,
How
like-
might an alien internet develop?
It depends on luck a little bit too, because like
Mhm.
and placement. Like internet works differently in different countries here too. So
That's true, yeah.
I guess an alien, I would say carnivorous aliens and just aliens that have less population density would probably have a less regulated internet, less moderated, whereas the herbivorous ones and other ones with a higher population density
That's such a
would probably
raw
have
statement.
a
A
more
population of
moderated.
carnivores would create a less moderated internet.
I believe so. And so this is just a series of extrapolations. Right?
Yeah.
Basically, carnivorous species have a lower population density because it requires more land
Like
to
we just-
sustain any given carnivore than it would to sustain any given herbivore. And that's because, say that you have 1 acre produces some amount of crop that gives a species energy. There's a roughly 10% rule every step of the way. So plants, the energy contained in plants is 10% of the sunlight they received. And then the energy contained in an animal that ate those plants is 10% of that, so only 1%. So whereas any given plot of land would be able to support 10 herbivores, it would only be able to support 1 carnivore. So that's the first extrapolation, is that carnivore species would likely have a lower population density. The next extrapolation is that countries with lower population densities on Earth tend to have less legislation, less sort of rules and restrictions. They tend to be less moderated, whereas higher population density countries tend to be more moderated, which makes sense. And just cities versus rural, right? The laws in American cities are more restrictive than in American rural areas. And that is just a necessity of population density. Because if you live in a high-rise apartment, then something like playing the drums at 3 a.m. is going to be an offense. I mean, it's not, you'll have, the cops will come and be like, shut up, right? But if you're in a rural area, you can do that as much as you want, and no one is going to stop you, right? You've got noise ordinances in a city, but not in a rural area. That is just one example. So then the next extrapolation is just applying that to the internet, saying that carnivores, less population density, less internet regulation and moderation. Herbivores, more population density, more internet regulation and moderation. So that might be wrong because I've done like 2 extrapolations here, but you know, it's just interesting to think about. Again, we're considering alien culture here. Imagine all the corollary effects that some different aspect, some different trait that these aliens have might affect how they run things and how they operate. It's just so interesting to think about these different factors and possibilities.
Yeah, this is what I'm probably going into in college, like behavioral analysis, behavioral sciences. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's like a giant puzzle piece. But like the puzzle piece is like in 5 different dimensions because there are so many variables and so many factors, and it's so cool. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Which is why I was
Sociology.
stoked to be back on this particular stream topic because
Oh yeah.
there's so much to do with things that we don't know a lot about because everything is theory and it's so fun.
It's great. Yeah, again, in terms of intelligent life forms, we only have one data point, and that is ourselves. So it's just a lot of speculation because there are 2 competing principles. There is the anthropic principle, and then there's the, what's the other one? I don't know. It's anthropic principle, and then mediocrity principle. And so these are 2 opposing principles. The mediocrity principle says we are likely an average intelligent race. The anthropic principle says it is incredibly unlikely for us to make it to this point in the first place, so we are probably very weird when it comes to space. So those 2 things compete, and it's interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, any other cultural things you guys want to talk about?
I think we pretty much hit on a lot of stuff.
All right. Okay. Now let's go to cohabitation. So this is a difficult one because, as I said earlier, they might just be allergic to different things. Let's take carbon dioxide, for instance. Any amount of carbon dioxide above 10% will kill a human. Anything above 1% causes drowsiness, tiredness, maybe even nausea. The optimal level is 0, obviously, but our atmosphere is like 0.035% or something like that. So what if there is an alien species that is incredibly much more sensitive to carbon dioxide? How might that function? Because if a human is, sealed in a room, right, and there's no ventilation, the person will die from carbon dioxide excess before they actually run out of oxygen. So you won't actually suffocate from too much or from a lack of oxygen. You won't die from hypoxia, but rather hypercapnia, I think it's called, hypercapnia. So there might be alien species where our atmosphere's level of carbon dioxide is too much for them. That would be that would hinder cohabitation, because how would we live with these aliens? We would need to have very good filtration systems.
So in my, not to keep bringing it up, but it just relates.
Oh yeah, no problem.
In my last video about why why Earth has life.
In my last video, you
can check it out on YouTube.
You can check it out.
128 seconds. I don't know if you've heard of it.
YouTube
but I make videos every now and then. They're 128 seconds long.
Very
Yeah,
short
in the last
educational
video that I
content
posted
try to
on
do
my YouTube channel, which is called 128 seconds.
Thing. I basically take it complex topics and dumb them down. Anyways,
And dumb them down? You're just insulting your viewers now.
No, not dumb them down, but give a
You said
broad
dumb them
overview. That it's a synonym for a broad overview. My videos should not be the only point of reference people use. That's why I include sources.
I have done multiple hour debates simply based off of your video.
It's your only bit of research. Is my video.
You're on the bus ride to the debate. You're just like, oh, I'm so screwed.
Exactly. You use my video.
Watch the video, boom, you're good to go.
Right there. But with Earth, the things I brought up were water, moderately temperate climate, like it's monitored, and then oxygen in the atmosphere, as well as with the carbon dioxide we can trap enough heat. So a lot of climate stuff, things that use photosynthesis, all that. So again, we have to kind of shift our view. Our view will be shifted when we start looking at if we do find other life, are those conditions all the same, which remain the same? I do think water will probably be a universal constant just because it's a fantastic solvent and it's polar, which means that it can carry molecules easily. It's a good base for things, like it's the base for blood, stuff like that, and it's a balanced pH, all that stuff. It just makes it the most perfect liquid ever. But the other things about that is that after that it kind of gets a little tricky. For instance, you could have the Goldilocks zone could kind of be shifted where it still has liquid water and stuff, but it's just significantly colder. Like it's not to the point where it's always where water is always solid, but it's still significantly colder than Earth. You're going to get a population that is much more accustomed to colder temperatures.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then they might constantly overheat in what we call room temperature.
Exactly.
Like the average
Earth
temperature of Earth is 15 degrees Celsius. Like what if theirs is just 5 degrees Celsius?
Yeah.
Then if you assume a similar shift with the room temperature, like that would be a massive barrier. But yeah, go ahead.
So you get all of those, and you could probably rank them to how likely those things are to change based on other planets. But if pretty much any one of those things is changed, they're going to have a significantly harder time with cohabitation on Earth, or the vice versa, us having cohabitation on their planet. Already, if you take into account travel times, we've looked at the planets that are close to us, and we're like, yep, nobody's home. So if life does exist in the universe, it is far, far away from us. And
yeah,
Camilla, you have exploded. Your camera has gone
blind side.
Green.
Oh no.
Oof. Can you still hear me? Is that working?
Yeah,
at
we
least?
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Turn your camera off and on again. IT professional. over
Watch
here.
out, Seth might
IT
yell at you for
professional.
messing up his
Oh
overlay.
yeah, wait, the overlay is gonna mess up. Hold on. Stand by.
Stand by. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know what other sort of barriers to cohabitation. I mean, there's interesting things like sort of ambient noises that people don't notice, like electrical wires that hum.
That is a disturbing amount of cans.
Oh,
How
my
many
God.
cans do you have?
He took 2 from me.
Oh,
Those
are
oh, he was
around the
holding
house.
others. I thought he grabbed those from the other
He
side of your
was.
desk.
No, those are from other places in the house, like his area.
Wow.
But yeah, just like it's just crazy. I mean, also, just the natural human smell would probably be very bad to
I
aliens.
disagree. I smell like
And the
flowers.
natural alien smell would also likely be very bad to humans. Just statistically speaking, right? I mean,
You know what would be interesting to talk about?
what?
Bacteria differences, like different, like diseases and contagion issues. Since it would probably be different on a different planet. Like if one alien like strolled into New York, would we all just die?
Yeah, so I would lean on the side of I don't think so, and here's why.
New Yorkers are
They're-
tough.
Yeah, New Yorkers are very tough, and I think you are underestimating. No, well, it's just that. So, in the movie and the book, "The War of the Worlds" by H.G. Wells, that is actually how the invading Martians end up being defeated. They fall prey to the human viruses, and I personally think that's kind of dumb because there is this massive, like, barrier just between species for viruses specifically. Viruses can really only affect a set group of species, and when it moves to another species, it is rare, and it is called a spillover event. There's this movie called Contagion. It's a pretty good movie.
I've
And-
seen that movie.
Yeah, and the spillover event there was like there was this virus that infected bats, and then it moved to pigs, and then it moved to humans. But this doesn't just constantly happen. And this is already between mammals that we're talking about here. Most of the major pandemics, like, bubonic plague, Black Death, came from, say, like rats, right? These are still mammals. Something that infects one mammal moving to another is already rare. Then if we are to say, like, try and get a disease from, I mean, don't try, but, it's rare that a disease will come from, say, reptiles or, there is like a bird flu,
Yeah.
right? We do have
Yeah,
that.
and on top of that, we have found that rats have a really similar like makeup to humans, which is why we use them
Yeah.
to test things. So
Yeah, exactly. But then I guess what I'm just leading up to is that there is this massive gulf. Oh, and then even before we get to aliens, trees. There are like the potato blight, right? There are tons of diseases that infect plants that have no way of infecting humans because human biology is completely different from plant biology. And an alien is from a different planet. We would likely be more closely related to trees or potatoes or bananas than we would be to an alien, genetically speaking.
yeah,
Because they have
we would
developed.
at least have proof that we would like
Yeah.
have a common ancestor with
Yep,
something
yep.
on Earth.
We developed from a common ancestor with trees, but the aliens have not developed from a common ancestor with us. So I would say it's unlikely that our viruses can infect them. But then bacteria is a different story because bacteria just because like viruses are more specific about genetic code. They are like an exploit. They have a small string of data. I mean, that's why we call these things computer viruses, when you have a small string of code that is able to totally overwrite your massive hard drive. And it's specific. Like, there are some viruses that will only affect, like, PCs instead of MacBooks, right? And it's the same thing with biological viruses. Whereas bacteria would be like just taking a sledgehammer to the computer, right? Like, bacteria are a lot more, I guess, amiable. They're just like, does this environment contain warmth, nutrients, and that's about it. Warmth and nutrients, and then a lack of anything poisonous. And if it does, they will infect. So bacteria are able to jump species a lot more, but it's not really a jump. It's just, oh, look, there is an environment that has nutrients and warmth. And it doesn't really matter to them if that's in the human body or, on a tree or anything. So our, bacteria and their bacteria might have issues intermingling. So that's something to think about. But we probably won't catch an alien virus, thankfully.
And they won't catch
The Pluto flu
The Pluto flu.
instead of the Wuhan flu.
Yeah. Well, I find it weird that... Well, I won't get into that.
Are you gonna make some comments about the Wuhan flu?
No. Well, so there's the UK
Which is
variant.
not the correct name.
It's not the
I
correct name.
should say.
But there's what's known as the UK variant and the South Africa variant, and those are location based. So, of course, it's not a flu. So Wuhan flu would not make sense, of course. But
What I'm hearing is you support calling it the Wuhan flu.
I do not. I think it should be called the coronavirus or the novel coronavirus 2019 or whatever. I believe that is the most accurate. However, anyway.
How sad would it be if aliens came down, right as COVID hit? They're like, huh? Guess there's no one here.
Exactly. And they just leave.
Off.
They just land in Times Square and there's no one there. I think.
And they just mark us, they just message us to the rest of the entire
world.
alien board all around the galaxy, just Earth, uninhabited, and so no one ever goes there.
What if we
That
got
would be a
checked in
funny
on
scenario.
25 million years ago? They're like, dude, there's nothing here. There's
Yeah,
nothing cool here.
Yeah, that's
really just some
possible.
rats.
They probably would have colonized, to be honest.
Maybe. Or maybe they saw it and they were they see dinosaurs and they're like, we should probably take those out. So they throw a massive meteor at Earth. And they're like, no way anything survived that.
Actually, Brendan, you just reminded me of something. If they really did come here and they were like, well, there's just some rats here, they actually would react to us. If their technology is beyond ours.
They reacted by building the pyramids. Hello?
Ooh,
They built them top down, of course. People always say that.
I walked in on some documentary.
Yeah.
And they're like, the pyramids are spaceships, and when they start to spin, they would have enough energy to take off.
This is just History Channel. History Channel.
Oh, History Channel.
Yeah.
I was appalled.
Yeah.
I love the History Channel.
Because then they always
Not
try
for
to
history,
bring in
but-
an expert. And it's so obviously just a guy that made a blog
so funny.
post. They're like,
Well,
here's Barry, whatever the hell. Barry Thomas.
South Park,
Here he is.
South Park made a big joke about the History Channel stuff where the experts would always say, there's no evidence that aliens weren't present at the first Thanksgiving,
Exactly.
which was the point of the
can't
episode.
completely rule out that the aliens
exactly.
build the pyramids. Or
Yeah,
they just
we
by
can't
coincidence,
completely rule out that they were not involved in building the pyramid.
Imagine
pyramids
answering
are
it. Imagine going
perfectly
through a
in line
test.
with the magnetic field.
Imagine going through a test just like that. It's
Mm.
at what temperature does, cesium turn into a liquid? And you're like, well, we can't rule out the fact
we
that
can't rule out.
cesium might not even be real.
Well, we have no evidence. We can't rule out the fact that at the correct pressure, it would be 10.
There's a word for that. I was just
Lying?
talking about-
Gaslighting your
No.
teacher?
Well, there's
No,
something
the
unfalsifiable. Unfalsifiable.
No, it's I think it's technically a logical error, but I forget what it's called.
Oh, logical
I was.
Oh
just
yeah,
talking about
it's add
it's like asserting.
or something like that. It's like
Yeah,
if
something like that.
it's where it's if someone's making an argument and someone is replying to the argument just by saying, "Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Nothing matters." Like that's basically
No,
the
no,
basis of it.
not. That's a different thing. I'm talking about specifically like we can't rule out the fact that like saying
Burden
things
of
that
proof,
are like
that's one thing. Burden of proof, which says that
no, it's
saying we
hold
can't
on,
rule
hold on.
out, yeah, saying like we can't rule out that aliens were there. You're the one, by claiming that aliens were there, that has to provide evidence that they were, rather than me saying that they're not, because that's sort of like, already assumed, right? That's burden of proof. But yeah, cohabitation. It's like, how I don't know how it would work. It would be pretty difficult. In all likelihood, it wouldn't work. Like what they show in like Star Trek and stuff, where like all the aliens are happy and they're together on this crew. Like that wouldn't work. One of them would be freezing to death, another would be like choking on the air, right? Like it would not be a good time.
But yeah.
I mean, I guess they could everyone would, it's possible. You could have everyone is just constantly wearing a spacesuit around each other. You could do that. Wouldn't be particularly fun, but
It would
I think
almost be like everyone just has really big. I don't have. Man, yeah, I had a punchline
You
and then I forgot
really
it, and then I
just-
tried to come up with another one and I couldn't.
The downward
well, I
spiral.
mean, think about it. We a year ago would not be used to like talking with
hungry.
people with masks on constantly, right?
That's
So
the one I was going for.
if that's just a normal thing for alien cohabitation, that everyone just constantly has to wear a spacesuit that's adapted to their own specific like internal environment, people would get used to it after a while.
It was the idea that the absence of proof is not proof of something else.
Yeah, okay.
Which I just ran and asked my mom about because that's who I was talking about it with, who used to be a professor of logic and philosophy. So
Nice.
I run to her when I am confused about things. I couldn't for the life of me remember what we were talking about. Sorry about that. I kind of
yeah,
ran
no
out of the room, but that's what it was.
It's all good.
Yeah, we're just talking about alien cohabitation, and I was just saying that you could essentially solve all these problems if you just have the aliens, every single alien group is just constantly in a spacesuit that is adapted to their own environment when they interact with each other. And I was saying that, 2 years ago, we would not be used to like interacting with masks on all the time, right? And people are getting more used to that. So it's possible that if that's the only way to really cohabitate with aliens, that it would happen. Because in all practicality, why do you really need to be in person one-on-one with an alien? I mean, you could also do just Zoom or Discord like we're doing right now. But it's just a common trope in like sci-fi stuff that you'll have all the aliens living together, all the different species. And I'm like, how is this possible? They all developed on different planets. And then you always have the strong one that's like, oh, I am from a planet that has 100 times Earth gravity, which just makes me stronger in normal gravity. And I'm like, okay.
That
Like, sort of, but... You've got all these fun little tropes, right? Science fiction. But yeah.
I think we're good on cohabitation.
All right. Next, let's go to war and diplomacy. So say that, one alien group, their average room temperature is 62 degrees, and of course humans is 72 degrees. And so then
of course.
this conflict gets so out of hand that it turns into warfare. What then? What happens then?
I think, again, it would depend on their biology, and then, actually, I would say, namely, it would depend on resource scarcity. It would depend on the state of scarcity that they have. Now, say that, for the sake of this, I'm just going to eliminate, like, travel times, because with travel times, and us finding aliens, it's more likely aliens will find us, which means, by extension, it's more likely that aliens are going to be more developed than us. So take that principle out of the solution for this example, but if you get that planet, that population on the planet with more resources, selfishness and like self-preservation is to less of an extreme, which would most likely mean that they are less confrontational, and would support a more diplomatic approach. And then obviously the scarce planet would be the opposite. Already you have people almost fighting a war every single day, just trying to, get by. You have much less of, for lack of a better term, a middle class. You have people that are that have adapted well to the scarcity and are now the like apex predators, and those apex predators are who's running this society. They're probably going to be have more of a war like mindset. They're going to be like, oh well, I've had to fight for everything my entire life. Let's take out these humans, stuff like that. But
yeah, and also
go ahead.
We might be able to tolerate, like, if an alien species has some sort of weird thing, like they cannibalize their own children, right? But how that might, like, we might be able to say, okay, well, they're just doing their own thing. We can accept it, right? But
because
if
at that point it's weird because they're not our own species. Because a lot of the times, whenever you see the planet coming together as a global community, it's always, yes, they are from a different country, but they are human too. And, that's a very good argument for globalization and global cooperation on the global scale. So you get that, except, well, actually, no, you don't get that anymore because now they're not humans. They're not from Earth. They're not all of that. So we'd probably, care less about them than our own people because they're not from here.
Even out of a matter of, like, empathy, right? We have, as humans, the Geneva Convention and other sort of rules of warfare and rules of engagement because we have common ground that we can agree upon. That's like, do not kill civilians, right? But what if there is an alien society that has no concept of civilian? Again, if it's one of these planets where everything is more scarce, it might just be a fact of life that everyone is constantly in conflict to survive. There is no such thing as a civilian, right? If they start killing civilians in a war and we object to that, they would say, what are you talking about? This is just normal for us.
I hate to interrupt, but it is my time to go. So,
Okay.
Sebastian, you're probably going to have to reformat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. You goddamn digital terrorist.
Time for me to leave.
Yeah, you
Bye,
might also
Brendan.
have to reformat anyway, just because I had to leave really quickly because my mom entered the room. And
No, you're good. You're good. You do it properly.
You're
Brendan
good.
doesn't know how to do it. All right. We're going to be floating in space real quick, everyone.
Nice.
Or, I mean, everyone's going away. Everyone's going away.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting to think about how could humans agree on sort of rules of warfare. And then again, always the reciprocal. What if our practices of warfare are considered barbaric?
Have to
What if
everything?
what if the aliens, right? What if they all conduct warfare just like with robots? So they just have robots fight other robots and they only target like economic, like strategically economic places, right? Like they'll destroy a factory but make sure that no one's in it just because they're trying to slash the production of the country. Like, what if that is their means of warfare? And then humans show up and, like with soldiers and even just killing other soldiers, right? Just as there might be aliens with no concept of a civilian, there might be aliens with no concept of a soldier. And if we decide to take out like the headquarters where they're like piloting all these robots, they might call that a war crime. They would say, "What are you doing? You can't do that. That's a war crime. That violates the rules of warfare." These people were just like piloting robots, actively piloting robots that are, destroying our economic things, like destroying our factories and stuff. And if we target the warehouse itself or the, control center itself, they might call that a violation of, alien rights, right? And we would be the barbarians to them, just as these sort of aliens with no concept of a civilian would seem barbaric to us. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Like these incongruities with culture.
Do you think,
yeah.
say aliens touch down today, what % of the population would want to go to war with them? What % of the population would want diplomacy?
Depends on what they do. Well, if they are capable of traveling, of landing on Earth, and they've come from another star system, they would have immense technology. So if they have not done anything outwardly and obviously violent, then I don't know about the population, but the political class, at least, the leaders of the world, would be doing everything they can to get in their proper favors. Mm-hmm. You would actually probably see a sort of like diplomatic arms race where every country is trying to say like, oh, we're the best country. Look at them over there. They're like doing horrible things. Like, oh, they're like, they're doing war crimes. They're an evil country. You should help us. You should help us get rid of that country. The U.S. would do that immediately, right? There's obviously, I imagine pretty much every major world power would do that. Like China would probably try and like get the aliens in their favor. Russia would probably do that, and of course the U.S. would do that. All the different sort of powers, That's what I would see happening, and then, maybe a minor part of the population. It really depends on what they do. If the aliens just land and are like, "We come in peace. Here is free tech," you'd probably get no more than 10% of the population objecting to that. Of course, I might be biased just because I know how I would react to that, and maybe I am overconfident in assuming that people are reasonable. Maybe I'm overestimating the reasonability, but like, if these aliens touch down day one and like offer cures to like the worst diseases we have on day one, then it would be sort of harder for people to object. People still would, of course, like a certain amount, but I just can't imagine it would be much more than like a vocal minority that would just complain and like protest, picket, and people would just be like, okay, whatever, we don't really care about them.
Optimist? Pessimist?
I mean, there's groups today that, do some pretty bad things, but they are a very small minority. Like, you've got, I don't want to mention, but, you've got, like, say, there were, like, what is it, the Westboro Baptist Church or something like that? Right, that one?
We as a platform, we can call out the Westboro Baptist Church.
There's also, there were people that protested at the funerals of the Sandy Hook children. We all sort of lived near that. We lived near that town because we're in Connecticut. I'm in Florida now, but people protested that. People protest at. Generally, I'm just gonna say, if you're protesting at a funeral, you probably have to rethink what you're doing. But
let's.
There were also people that protested at the funerals of like gay soldiers, like that had fought in the military. And stuff.
The Westboro Baptist Church did protest at the funerals of a lot of people who were gay, trans, any part of the LGBT community, or anyone who supported them. Not even just like people who like were kind of in the news that died. If like the Westboro Baptist Church had found a random family, they
Yeah.
would have gone to that funeral, and that shows a level of disrespect that is just not.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Exactly. But yeah, I think as a general rule of thumb, if you are at a funeral for the purposes of not, liking that person, you should probably go somewhere else and wait a week. Maybe more, ideally more, but at least wait a week. Right. And so it's like, but that is to say, that is a very, very small minority of people. And I assume if you were to do a Gallup poll of just the American populace and you were to say, do you approve of this action? You'd probably get 90% of people at least saying no.
Is it an anonymous poll or a normal poll?
I think they're always anonymous. I don't know.
Then I guarantee you it's not 90.
But that level of, I don't know.
I guarantee you it's not 90. That's not even me being a pessimist. That's just straight up. But it's not like, I don't think it's 50-50, but it's not 90% of the US thinks that that's a bad thing.
Well, I can't imagine that because I'm pretty sure just in terms of, well, okay, if we're going to say the, Sandy Hook ones, right? That's probably going to be 90% disapprove.
I don't know.
It doesn't necessarily.
It's tough. It's tough. Like,
I mean, listen. Even that doesn't even mean that people support, say, like gun control. You could have people that are vehemently opposed to gun control, and most of them would still probably say, "This protesting at children's funerals was a bad thing," right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think the Sandy Hook thing would probably be more like 90.
And the point being here is that it would be a vocal minority, in my opinion, that would protest against the arrival of aliens unless they do anything violent, unless the aliens do anything outwardly violent and negative. And even if there was a massive part of the population, you still have to consider the economic interests. Every billionaire would be on the alien side because the aliens would be, presumably offering them benefits, unless the billionaires, are worried about losing their power. But generally, you would have.
Assuming the aliens have like a capitalist-like bartering system, or even a bartering system.
If the aliens were like communist, like Star Trek kind of thing, I don't know. They might. The billionaires might be like upset about that. But at least the political powers, the political leadership who wants their country to prosper over others would appeal to the aliens.
You don't think they would do something out of fear?
I mean, they could, but then they would lose. Like, they could, but then they'd lose instantly.
Well, how are you sure they'd lose?
If you have two countries. Okay, and these are aliens from another star system, right? So imagine this sort of technology they have, and you have two countries. One is afraid of the aliens, so goes against them, and the other is also afraid of the aliens, but is also afraid of their, enemy countries and wants prestige, and so they butter up to the aliens. Which country is going to survive?
You're assuming that the aliens that are coming to see us have pooled resources into combat and defense. But earlier on in the stream, we were talking about how they might have just pulled their resources into, maybe they're a peaceful society that just want to expand. It's not necessarily that they have more, that they have a farther reach than us technologically. Jesus Christ, I cannot speak today.
I've said this before, but you weren't here, so you wouldn't know. But when it comes to interstellar travel, there is no such thing as a civilian vessel. And the reason for that is because the energies involved in just moving at such a fast speed, just the kinetic energy involved, instantly turns your ship into a nuclear level device without any explosives on it, just moving at that speed. And if you
With-
have aliens arriving, then they have people in orbit, they have spaceships in orbit. And if any country was giving them trouble, even if they had no sort of weaponry at all, they could simply evacuate one of their spaceships and deorbit it. And that would be
Well,
like a meteor crashing into some country if, they were giving them trouble.
okay, yeah, that's true.
It says it's just as simple as that. So even if they have no weaponry, like there's no such thing as no weaponry, I guess, when it comes to space, because everything is so high energy.
Well, no, but I was also talking about like a peaceful society.
Yeah, but like if they'll have to have some sort of basic self-preservation, otherwise they would not have survived as a species on their own planet. And so
Right,
if they
but
are being
could
attacked,
they could just run away.
they could just run away.
They could
That's
very much just be like, well, hate you guys, see you never.
We also
And then
have
go
some.
away.
We also have some more chat.
Yeah.
We do?
We do.
All right, let's see. We have Pluto Schneering says, not the WBC. Oh yes. Yeah.
We can all come together.
Not
and
fun.
say,
We can. No one
fuck 'em,
likes.
dog. They suck.
Yeah. I'm gonna just say.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
if the aliens come down and they're anything like the Westboro Baptist Church, you can bet your
I
butt
think
there shall be
humans
a
would
war.
oppose that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if aliens sort of land and they're just neutral, I tend to assume that
Yeah, I think diplomacy will be the language
even
between them.
if like the majority of the population hates the aliens, there will be some political leaders who recognize I can gain from this. My country can gain from this, so I will take this action.
Yeah.
And I mean, that could be literally just nobody but Luxembourg. If everyone decides to side against the aliens except Luxembourg, who decides to side with the aliens, the sheer technological gap here means that Luxembourg, with the snap of a fingers, would instantly become the most powerful country in the world. And I am not kidding.
Yeah.
Every other country
Honestly.
rejected the alien technology, rejected alien aid, said, we don't want you here, we don't like you. But Luxembourg did. Luxembourg, and that's just a random, Monaco, any random country, Singapore, says, yeah, you can stay here. You can use our country as a base of operations here on Earth in exchange for technology. Like, we will work with you. That country will instantly become the most prosperous country in the world. Like, even more of a superpower than America was after World War II, or like after the fall of the Soviet Union. They will be the hegemon. So that's just sort of why, because again, it's just the sheer technological capabilities here makes it such that even if you hate the aliens, right? Even if the aliens are like, they put milk in their cereal first, right? Like
War.
they put milk in and then
War.
the cereal.
I
Even if
want
you just hate the
more.
aliens, it is always in your best interest to side with them. Because-
No, it's
technological
not.
advancement and specifically space travel.
How technologically
Yeah, the
advanced can
technological
they
advancement.
be if they put the milk in before the cereal?
Pretty advanced. I imagine they have
So with specifically
Yeah.
space travel, though.
yeah, but like it implies other sort of advancements as well because so there's a few things. If
They could have.
got
They could have.
here-
They could have pooled all their resources into space travel. They really could have.
if they got here slowly on a generation ship, then that means they've had tens of thousands of years to develop technology. If they got here quickly, in a matter of a few years, then that means that they have some non-conventional energy source, such as nuclear fusion. And if they have nuclear fusion for rocket ships, they also have nuclear fusion at home. And nuclear fusion is one of those technologies that greatly increases energy input, is a very clean source of energy ever invented. And so that sort of increase in power potential would allow many new technologies to come into existence.
Right, but you're also assuming that they have the same elements and the same, like, I guess, resources as we do here on Earth, because they could have some other different way of, sustaining energy that's easier to get to. Like, this is a bad example, but it could literally grow on trees there, so it might not be as difficult as it is to get here.
Not really, because like the laws of physics are universal.
Right, the laws of physics are, but we have discovered new ways to create energy, and we have discovered new elements in our time span on Earth. So maybe they have different elements that would do different things.
There is no chemical reaction that can outperform a nuclear reaction.
If I ask why, how long will we be on here?
It would be a while.
Okay,
well, I mean,
we'll talk about that another time.
It's just electron energy states have a lot less energy contained in them than proton and neutron energy states. That's all it is. It's that, like, yeah.
Well,
so
we'll talk about that another time,
so,
just so we're not here until
like
next week.
Exactly. But yeah, so I just being capable of interstellar travel means that you're going to be a lot more technologically advanced. I mean, even if it's something as mundane as like, well, if you're, again, another thing, if you are going to be going at a massive percentage of light speed, you are going to need some sort of point defense system to target, say, asteroids, pebbles, particles of dust in your path, because when you're moving at 20% the speed of light, a particle of dust is a devastating event when it crashes into your ship. So you'll need like laser defenses for that interstellar travel. And I imagine they could use those laser defenses in warfare if they wanted to.
Momentum is a hell of a thing.
Yeah. Yep. And that's it. I would just say to any world leaders that happen to be watching the Gravity Max live stream, if aliens land and are not outwardly hostile, it is probably the smartest thing to do to instantly ally with them and make them as happy as possible, give you as much technology as you can get.
If it was like just Luxembourg that accepted the aliens, I would move to Luxembourg so fast.
I'd be like, screw this. You guys are against the aliens. They have not done anything violent unless, if the aliens start attacking us, then it's like, that's another story.
But yeah, I think that's war and diplomacy.
Yeah, I mean, diplomacy, I would say refer back to our sort of interstellar, like the last episode where we talked about empires and stuff, because that's pretty similar here, except instead of other groups of humans, it's aliens. And honestly, at a certain point, other groups of humans become aliens just because of genetic divergence, isolation. Like the Galapagos finches have developed into different species from the mainland finches because they got stuck on that island for a long, long time.
Oh, freshman year vibes.
Oh yeah, I love reading that book, Origin of Species. But yeah, if the Galapagos Islands can create the favorable situations for genetic diversification, the gulf of space between two stars sure as heck will do so as well. So you'll end up with various human species that like are not the same species anymore. Just like the definition of a species is commonly like two organisms can reproduce and create a viable offspring with each other, then it's part of the same species. There will come a point with interstellar travel where humans could not do that. And so humans will become the aliens. Ooh, plot twist. M. Night Shyamalan. So I'm
sure you're aware.
The alien movies.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware that is the man behind the tragedy of the movie we were discussing earlier. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right. He is the one with the water. Oh my god.
He's so bad,
we
dude.
Talked about
He's so bad. The Sixth Sense is fantastic. Unbreakable is pretty good. The ending's a little goof. But I'm telling you, man, if you do 2 good movies and the rest is trash, that means that those were flukes.
But they're not just good. It's like revolutionary movies. Like, well,
Revolutionary?
One revolution.
What?
One was like, you said it yourself,
Yes.
and I quote.
It's a classic. I said it's a classic.
Rocked the world. I think you said that too. You said rocked the world, right?
Okay. Well, first of all, I use that term very loosely.
Okay.
I will make a really
Okay.
good sandwich, and I'll say that rocked the world. So
All
fine,
right.
but yes, but it's a classic. It's a classic, and I'm
Okay,
in no way opposing.
I'm just gonna say, when it comes down to this debate,
Yes.
we both agree that The Sixth Sense was a great movie, that
Yes.
Unbreakable was a good movie, and that the
Yes.
rest were pretty garbage, from meh to like complete trash. We both agree on that.
Yes.
We just disagree on whether or not that makes him a good director.
All I know is that he's probably directed about 10 to 15 films. Right.
And most of that, I agree. I
think,
agree with you.
I like that's an accurate estimate, I think. And out of those, let's say he's written himself. He likes to write his own movies.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say he wrote probably, if he did 10 to 15, he probably wrote 8 to 12.
Mhm.
He probably wrote 8 to 12 of those movies. All I know is that 2 out of 8 is not a passing grade.
Okay, I will say, also, it probably got hard for him to make convincing plot twists. Because if everyone knows, okay, there's going to be a plot twist in this movie because M. Night Shyamalan directed it,
Yes.
then it's not a plot twist anymore.
But that's what made...
So he had to come up with very extraneous plot twists, like the aliens being susceptible to water, or the
a
trees
toddler could have thought
forcing
of that.
everyone to kill themselves because the trees are angry about global warming. I think that's the funniest one in The Happening. That's a great movie.
He could have done it. He could have done it better because there's always room for innovation, even if.
But here's the thing: his bad
something...
movies tend to be like funny bad.
You know what I think?
I would say no to that. I would say that
The
most
Happening.
of his movie. Yeah. Okay. Yes, there are obviously some funny ones he did, and yes, but I would say that not enough of them are funny bad. Some of them are just bad because they take themselves seriously.
Too seriously. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Imagine you get an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and you're expecting a plot twist because all his movies have plot twists, and there's just no plot twist. And
That'd be
that's the
smart.
plot twist.
That would be incredibly smart for him to do. But I do believe that is outside of his area of expertise because that is a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
One which he tasted many years ago and has completely left his palate ever since.
Interesting.
He washed it down with too many bad. He washed it down with the water.
I mean,
The
tell
water
me
that-
tell me that's not the biggest twist of all. That the guy who directed The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable was
Directed
the guy
The
who directed
Happening.
The Happening and the
I forget what they. I genuinely don't know what the alien ones.
It's
Is
called
it Signals?
Yeah, it's Signals. It is.
Okay. I was guessing. I thought that's a book I've read. Like Signals is a book I've read, and it doesn't end with the aliens being. It
So
ends with
it was
there
just
are
M.
no
Night
aliens.
Shyamalan finding crack, and he's like, I see.
I'm not sure if Signals was supposed to be an adaptation of Signals, or if they just both happen to have the same title. But it seems weird because they're both about aliens. Except the Signals one, like the book, the plot twist was that like there actually weren't any aliens. It was just like this one girl was like making the crop circles herself, and like, I forget the plot. Like this was a while ago that I read this. It was like, but it was like there were no aliens. Anyway.
I gotta get me a
Here's another
crop
question.
circle, GF.
You want to crop? Yeah. Okay. Here's a question, right? So we discussed the scenario where aliens generally come in peace, but what if aliens come with the intention of waging war against Earth? I think right now,
Then we would
It would just
respond
be-
with war. I think.
and I think we would instantly fail. I think that's it.
Yeah, if they came here with all
Right
that
now,
technology,
if aliens came right now with the interstellar capabilities, and they had hostile intentions, there would be nothing we could do.
we would lose. that
However,
war.
I would question what would those hostile intentions be. I cannot really see any sort of
Maybe because their
hostile
one
intentions that
weakness
make sense.
is water. They want to destroy the planet that is
No, but, like-
many percent water.
But yeah,
Maybe
think about it like this, right?
egoism?
What's up?
Yeah, that's a possible one, but like
Yeah.
just in terms of, let's just knock out like the practical ones first. So like some movies will say like, oh, they want Earth's water. They want the water because they don't have enough water. And I'm like, they can go to Europa for that.
Yes.
They can go to
That
Io,
Aquafina, I'm gonna
Ganymede.
sip that shit.
They
May
can-
I
they
direct you
can-
to a place that's not here?
they
Yeah.
can stop in the Kuiper Belt and not even like make the trek down the sun's gravity well to Earth. Earth is not even the body in the solar system that has the most water. Not even the most liquid water, likely. So it would be stupid to come to Earth for water. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And it's not even like out of sympathy. It's not even like out of sympathy they would be like, oh, well, we don't want to hurt the life on Earth. It would be out of just like convenience. It's like, okay, we can go to this dead planet that is not going to put up a fight, albeit a losing fight, but it would still cost more to fight the humans and then get the water. Also, Earth has a larger gravity well than like Io and Europa and stuff, so it would be much easier to just collect the water from there. Literally, they could just steal all of Europa. They could just take it out of the Jovian system. And humans would be like, what? This is crazy. And why? And they would be like, why are the aliens not talking to us? The aliens could just come into the solar system, grab Europa, and leave. And we would have no explanation.
Grab Europa.
I mean, can you imagine that? Sebastian would be
Take it.
devastated.
I would be devastated. That's my
If they
main
just took Europa.
motivator.
Yeah. They could just come here, not say a word to us, take Europa and leave. And that would give them
Can't have
like,
shit in Detroit.
they stole Europa. That would give them like twice the amount of water that an invasion of Earth would give them. So water, cross it off the list, right? Water is actually the most common molecule in the universe that is made of two different elements, because the most common elements in the universe are hydrogen, helium, and oxygen. Helium does not create bonds. When hydrogen bonds with itself, that's a diatomic molecule. That's still hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So hydrogen and oxygen, the two most common elements that are chemically active, gives you water. So there is really not a lack of water in the universe. It's a very simple molecule. It's just a lack of like liquid water that is a problem. I mean, that's all it is. So water's out. But other things I've seen, like I think the one Independence Day, they want like the core, like the lava in the Earth's core or something, which doesn't make a lot of sense because just go to the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is much hotter. So, yeah, that one doesn't make sense.
But
So I guess what I'm getting at here is that in terms of resources, it doesn't make sense. They would likely not wage a war for resource collection purposes. There would just be no need. They could basically just steal everything else in the solar system and then wait 1,000 years for Earth to die from lack of sunlight and then just come back and take Earth as well. Like, they don't need to engage in warfare, you know? Like, it's just so much easier to just, say, starve Earth out, blockade it from sunlight. Just put up a big old FU shade, right? That just blocks out all the sunlight. And then collect the resources of the whole solar system, wait until all the humans die, and then take Earth from just the dead planet, right? So what other things might they want? I mean, in Predator, right? They just like hunting for sport. So that's why they're after the humans in Predator, in the movie Predator. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, you were saying about ego, Camilla. And that's, I would say, the most plausible reason aliens would go to war with humanity, just because there's really no reason to go to war with humanity for resources. It might be a
Especially
defensive
since we're
measure.
running out of them anyway.
Yeah. It might be a preemptive defensive measure insofar as they're like, okay, 200 years from now, they will become a spacefaring civilization and, you know, then they'll start competing with us for resources. So let's just wipe them out now before they can ever reach that level. And if they wanted to do that, they don't even need to engage in warfare. They could just send one relativistic kill missile, which is basically what I was talking about before, is how if you have an interstellar ship to launch a planetary invasion, then that means that you can also have an unmanned interstellar ship that just accelerates up to very near the speed of light and then just ram it into the Earth. Just do that, and you will instantly incinerate all life on Earth. You could easily do that. Not very difficult. If you are capable of interstellar travel, then you are capable of that as well, right? Because interstellar travel is actually more difficult than launching a missile at humanity. Because for interstellar travel, you have to accelerate and then decelerate. Launching a missile at humanity, you just accelerate it. And that's it. You don't have to decelerate it. That's what it does when it rams into the ground. So, and that could wipe out all life on Earth, just again, because of the kinetic energy. So if they wanted to exterminate life on Earth, they could do that easily. And yeah, that would be because, if humanity becomes an interstellar civilization and we have like star systems that we're using, then we could actually be competing for resources at that point.
For the sake of debate.
Yeah.
Just because this just came to mind. So, for anyone watching, I'm not insane. I just took a forensics course. Not everyone does things the easy way. Some people do things, or in this case, some life forms may do things based on other wants and needs. So there's a type of how do I explain this in not too long?
I mean, no, I understand. It's sort of like the serial killer type, like.
Yeah, how
like the calling
some
card.
serial killers they do things. That's what it's called, crime of passion. So they might not always go for like the easiest way out. They might not say, "Oh, we could just," it might be a power trip. Like if it really is literally egoism, it might be a power trip.
I mean, a kid with a magnifying glass and an anthill, right? But either way, they would defeat us invariably, I guess is my point. At this point in human development, if they are capable of getting here, they are capable of completely defeating us, unconditional surrender, complete extermination, because they are just so much more technologically advanced. I mean, we wouldn't think of ants, if we wanted to wipe out an ant colony, that would not be very hard. It would not be like a big protracted, say they're fire ants, and so like they bite your leg and you get some bug bites and you're like, oh, God damn it. But you still would wipe out the ant colony, and you would just you wouldn't even likely go to the hospital. I mean, I don't think you really need to. You would just say, get some of that like anti-itch cream and then just rub that on your ankle for like a week. There's a lot of fire ants down here in Florida. But the point is the relative power capabilities of these two species, humanity and some aliens capable of interstellar travel, is just such a vast disparity that however method they choose to go to war with humanity, whatever they ultimately want, if they want to kill humanity and outright, if they want humanity to surrender to their rule, if they want all humans to do some weird thing, walk on their hands, only walk on their hands, do a handstand walk constantly, they could get it done because they have the power to do so, so they will. But once humanity has interplanetary and interstellar capabilities, then it's more of an even playing field. And once we get to that level, then I would again just refer you back to last episode where we talked about interstellar civilizations and different groups of humans fighting each other. It would likely be similar situations that we talked about in that episode. So yeah.
Yeah. I think we can head on over to
All right.
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous section. So any other things that you can think about for aliens.
Well, I think this was, or I don't know if we were going to get our statements on if we think aliens exist in this one or predictions.
Oh yeah, we should do that. We could do that here.
All right.
The predictions are later.
All right, so Max, do you think aliens exist?
So it's interesting. I will start by saying that I hope they do not exist. And the reason for that is that it is much better if humanity can just use the resources of the entire galaxy without considering another alien group, without having to compete, without having to share, right? It would just be much simpler. It would be much better for us if we could just use it all to ourselves. Unless, of course, I will stipulate, if they are to come to Times Square today and give us all their technology, then I hope they do exist. However, if they exist, but they are only at a similar level to us, and they are on the opposite side of the galaxy, and we're just developing at around the same time, I hope they do not exist.
You want them to exist if they benefit you.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, that's a selfish argument, but just for humanity's purposes.
Sharing
Right.
is caring, but I don't care.
Exactly.
Well, I'd share with them if they're there, but you hope they're not there so that you don't have to, right? It simplifies things.
Mhm.
However, do I think they're real? That is a very difficult question. You've got the Drake equation, and it depends on their level. It depends on their level, because aliens as advanced as us certainly do not exist within, say, 100 light years. Aliens 100 years more advanced than us certainly do not exist within 200 light years. I would say it's a sort of light cone. So it's just a very difficult thing to say. I would say, at least in terms of the human world, we have never interacted with aliens thus yet. That's what I would say. So aliens don't exist to us yet. But do they exist out there? It's really difficult. They would have to be pretty far away in the galaxy at a minimum. And I would say they're almost certainly out there in some other galaxies, just because the observable universe is so vast. Like, there's 100 billion stars in a galaxy and then 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe. So I think it reasons that around one of them, that's 10 to the power of 22 different star systems. You probably got aliens around a few of them. It just depends how many, I guess, is the question. How many is the meaningful question?
Probability only gets you so far.
Yeah, because if there are... So, okay, just the basic question, are there aliens out there? Yes, definitely. Because... But the caveat there is that they might be a million light years away, a billion light years away, and just completely inaccessible. How would we ever find them? Like, it's just inconceivable. But they might be, say, 1,000 light years away. And that is still a massive gulf, a massive challenge. We could not get to them, obviously, for 1,000 years at least, which is a long time. And if we found out of their existence today, then we're looking at them as they were 1,000 years ago because of the time it takes the light to get from their star to us. So, and it would take us at least 1,000 years, to get there, or to get even a message there. So there's a 2,000-year gap between us finding out of their existence and then finding them. So if we found a civilization that was 1,000 light years away, that was as developed as ancient Rome, then by the time we would discover them and then get out to them, it would be at least the modern period, relatively speaking, right? And now think about right now compared to 2,000 years in the future. We have no idea how things might go. Things might go great, or they might go horribly, and humanity might wipe itself out. So if we see an alien civilization 1,000 light years away, there's no way of knowing that by the time we reach them, they won't be extinct. So I guess, so yeah, to conclude, in a definitive sense, yes, I believe that there are aliens out there somewhere. However, they might be so far away that their presence is meaningless. There you go.
Very nice. Camilla, what are you thinking? Do aliens exist?
I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything different to say from Max. Like, the probability that in how large space is and how many galaxies there it seems strange to say that this planet Earth is the only one that has any kind of life form. So there probably do exist extraterrestrial life forms. I don't think we've seen any. I think that the photos that people put online, I don't think those are alien life forms personally. Um, but I don't think they just don't exist.
What do you think, Seb?
Um, I asked Brendan to give his answer too, and we gave basically the same answer. Um, I think there probably is, for exactly what Camilla said. It's just so big that you have so many possibilities that and you know what I went through, all those conditions for how Earth sustains life, those could be not necessarily easily met, but when you have such a large space, they are almost absolutely met in other places. Um, it the part about it being intelligent, however, is the other thing.
Yeah.
Because while those planets with the same conditions as Earth most likely do exist, how, you know, far along they are along the evolution track is, you know, anyone's guess. Judging, like, based on the planet's, like, scarcity or situation, like, for example, say it was an all-water planet, and, you know, they've never gotten past, like, the Stone Age. I would still deem that probably intelligent life, but in all honesty, it's probably just bugs or crabs somewhere out there.
Crabs.
Space
I think
bugs or
there's gotta
space
be
crabs.
every planet of intelligent life that there has to be at least 100 just crab worlds.
Crab.
And 100
Arsenation.
more planets that used to have life and don't anymore.
That's true.
That is also true, yes.
Yeah. We might be the first. That's another possibility.
I feel
We
like we
might be the
might
first.
be, you know, just because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like, you go into the minutia and you get just because of how many planets are in our solar system, that helps Earth out because the gas giants draw asteroids away from us all the time.
Yep.
Which is why we don't, like, I mean, we're still, you know, kind of getting pelted by space rocks, but those are just small enough to burn up. But the ones that are big enough to take us out, Jupiter usually just yeets them away from us because it has such a large gravitational field.
Yep. And another thing is we haven't discovered any Dyson spheres just in our observation of space, which is something you would expect to see if there are advanced alien civilizations out there. And the way that you can see a Dyson sphere is that it surrounds a star, right? And it uses up the energy and produces waste heat just as any machine does. So you would see an object that is as bright as a star, but that is radiating entirely in the infrared, which would be
To
anomalous.
be honest,
Yeah.
let me be clear.
Let
Don't
me be
get
clear.
it twisted. I believe, and you touched up on this a little earlier. I believe that it is more likely that humans are just going to branch off, live in different places for a long enough period of time that they are now considered different, like, species or different. I guess species is the best word for it. I believe that will happen before we find any true alien life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because, like you were saying, the life could be 1,000 light years away, could be however many light years away. So I'm doubtful that humans are ever going to see alien life other than themselves, just distantly removed.
Yeah, just diversified.
Yeah.
And because the thing is, when it comes down to it, you can colonize the entire galaxy in about 1 million years. Like, it really doesn't take that long, just because I know that sounds weird, but in a geological time scale, 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs were walking the Earth. A few million years from now, we could have humans on every single star in the galaxy. And it's just the simple sort of exponential growth type of situation, because all you need to do is send an alien ship to the nearest star, say every 100 years, right? Say that as a civilization, every 100 years you send another ship out to colonize the solar system. But every colonized system itself sends out one ship every 100 years. Then you essentially have a doubling time of 100 years, because year 0, you just have your home. Year 100, you have your home and the first colony. Then year 200, you have your home, the colony, a new colony, and then a colony from that first colony. So then you have 4, right? And that's just a 2 to the x, right? So if you do 2 to the power of, well, let's see. So it would be, I'm saying 1,000,000 years is our timeline here. 1,000,000 divided by 100 gives you 10,000. So 10, 1, 2, 3. So 2 to the 10,000. Oh, error, overflow. So quit or go to. My calculator will not calculate 2 to the power of 10,000, which means that it is certainly more stars than are in the galaxy, right? And that is a doubling time of 100 years. I mean, that's, once you get to that level, once you can send your first interstellar ship, it's like, it really shouldn't take you 100 years to send the next one, right? So, just think about that. If there were aliens that were 1,000,000 years ahead of us in terms of technological development, then they would have colonized the galaxy right now, or wiped themselves out. So they're either all dead, or they are all less than 1,000,000 years ahead of us. And probably far less, because we would see evidence if they had, say, colonized half the galaxy. We would be like, why is half of the galaxy just dark? We would notice that. So, yeah, they're probably around our level, maybe a bit ahead, at most. Or they're all dead. That's probably where they're at right now. So we could be the first, I guess. It's just interesting.
Yeah, because if we think probability-wise, again, but in the other direction, it might be really hard to have the conditions for life, because we don't entirely understand how this started here in the first place. So until we know that, we don't really know exactly how probable it is that something like what happened here, something like the Cambrian explosion, something like life existing on Earth could happen elsewhere.
Yep. And this is heavy, anthropic principle thinking, but it's just that the conditions of life can be, arbitrarily specific, because we're only here thinking about this because we are alive. The planets that, the planet that never developed a moon, the planet that is, a bit too hot, the planet that is a bit too cold. There are no life forms there. There are no life forms there hosting live streams and discussing this. So you can't just be like, wow, the chances, what are the odds that we developed here? And I'm like, they are very low, but they are also 100% because we are already here. It would be like, yeah, it's like, well, think about it like this.
Probability has nothing to do with whether it happened or not.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry. I just mean well, it's sort of like...
Yeah, I know what you meant, but it wasn't...
No, yeah, you're right.
Strange.
Every time you hold a lottery, like the Powerball or something like that, they'll interview the winner, and the winner will be like, oh, I, picked my daughter's birthday. Those are the numbers I picked. And people will be like, wow. And it's like, based on those interviews, you would assume, oh, okay, if I pick meaningful numbers to me, then I'm more likely to win. No. Except that is untrue, because you don't interview the millions, tens of millions of people that lost the Powerball lottery. So by being astounded by the small chance that we're here is like being astounded that you're interviewing the winner of the Powerball lottery. There was always going to be one winner of the Powerball lottery, and you were never going to interview the losers of the Powerball lottery. So
especially not here, because in this case, the losers of the Powerball lottery don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. This is a situation where they don't even exist. So it's like,
We just happen to be here. We are here now.
Yep.
That's a thing. We're just trying to understand it.
it's also like when they interview people that are like 110 years old. They're like, what did you do to stay so healthy? And it's like, it's equal parts chance here, right?
Yeah.
Like, they'll be
Like,
like,
I didn't have a heart attack.
yeah,
There
exactly.
may be reasons why I was less likely to have a heart attack, but I could have had a heart attack.
Exactly. I mean, I think they had one interview with like a really, really old person that like they like drank like Coke every day, like Coca-Cola, like once a day or something. And I'm like, oh, I bet the Coca-Cola company was very happy to learn that.
Yeah,
Right? 'Cause people-
the last surviving veteran
Yeah.
of the U.S. Civil War smoked like 3 cigars every single day.
Yeah.
He was just
Yep.
built
Yep.
different, you know.
The cigarette companies must have been happy about that. Again,
Not even
it's
cigarettes,
like-
just straight cigars. I'm
Or
talking
cigar company,
beefy
yeah.
things. But yeah,
It's interesting. You know that
yeah.
I just want to bring this up. It's total tangent, but
Sure.
someone who witnessed the Lincoln assassination went on TV in 1955 and was on a game show.
Oh.
It's very fascinating,
That is pretty interesting.
right? Like that's crazy. It was on a show called I Have a Secret. I would highly
Oh.
recommend you look up that clip.
I wonder what
and it
his
was
secret
basically-
was.
Yeah, they brought him on. They guessed it pretty quickly, actually, and they're like, he is, like 95 years old, right?
Mhm.
And so then the panelists were like, is your secret related to a major historical event? Like,
Wow.
and he was like, yes. And then it was like, is it related to a important historical figure? And he's like, yes. And then the last person is like, did you watch Lincoln get shot? And then he's like, yeah. Like,
Wow.
yeah, they guessed pretty fast. It was crazy, but I just find it interesting that this person was on TV in 1955,
Yeah.
like so many years later. So, anyway, that was just a small, interesting fact of the day. I've probably said that before on here just because I love the fact that happened.
That's very
Okay.
interesting.
That guy. Oh, and when I say that, I mean that the person went on the show, not that Lincoln got assassinated. But that I might as well clarify that.
No.
Yeah, I just realized that was a bad, sort of like when the movies play the pronoun game and they're just like, it. And they're just like, it is going to get us. And they're like, what is it? Tell us what it is. And they're like, it is going, the monster. And it's like, just say the monster or something. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, it is going to kill us. Okay, all right. But anyway, so let's move into predictions, I guess.
Sure.
Predictions. We've been doing a lot of predictions throughout this thing. I guess here's an interesting prediction. What do you think the date will be, AD, that we meet aliens?
The date
I have no idea.
that we meet. Well,
I
from what I
have
just
no idea.
said, I'm saying that it's just going to be
Yeah, it's
diversification
just
of
gonna be different humans. Yeah.
which is if you go by Dune by Frank Herbert,
Dune.
which is a fantastic,
Fantastic book.
second only, of course, to Truly Dead Rock.
Oh, yes,
combined
yeah.
with the Bottle of Flame. But
Yep.
that took about 80,000. It was like in the year 80,000, or no, year 8,000. No, 80 or 8,000. There's an 8 in it. I know this to be true. What
Yeah.
year does?
But wait, are the different humans able to like reproduce with each other, like the different human species?
They really
because
just
if
don't
so,
like
then they're
each
not-
other.
They just don't like each other. But I don't know.
The year
Then they're still part of the same species. You know what I mean? If they're
I don't know. I've not gotten into the breeding habits of the Dune characters.
yeah, I
Dune
know, I know,
is
but
in the
it's just-
year
that's the only definition we have.
91, but that's 20,000 years in the future.
Okay.
So maybe they changed their calendar. So
Yeah, I think so.
20,000 years in the future. I would say 20,000 years is like
Okay.
that's for a species to change. That's pretty quick, I would say. Question mark, especially if you're dealing with, an intelligent species. because we, on a daily basis, try and do things that counter our natural instincts. You know,
Yeah,
if we
like natural selection doesn't really occur.
exactly
At this point, it would only be just the isolation, just the effects of isolation
so
between star systems.
yeah, I would say Dune kind
Just
of
genetic drift.
yeah, I would say they kind of jumped the gun on that. So I would probably say
yeah.
in 50,000 years, humans will have expanded throughout the solar system and throughout the galaxy far enough that the people from old Earth will be noticeably different than those that live on the farther reaches of the galaxy.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And also, in Dune, the people are subjected to natural selection, I would say. Because there's a lot more violence going on in
I would say
Dune.
so.
Whereas we are not as much subjected to natural
So
selection.
I'm saying it will be February 28th, 5221.
Nice.
What about you?
52,021.
What about you, Camille? What are you thinking of?
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm not. I have
Not
no
gonna get-
idea.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, I don't know,
it's
when it comes
really
to human-
impossible.
Human evolution
I can
is hard to
do
guess.
like connections and how things affect each other. I can do theories. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't predict timing. My brain doesn't work like that. I have no idea.
Yeah. Human evolution is hard to predict, but in terms of meeting like aliens, right? Like non-human descendants,
Mhm.
I would say it would have to be at least 10 million years in the future because I don't think they're in this galaxy. That's just a guess. It's a hunch. I have a hunch that there are no aliens. Well, but what about the development level of the aliens? Because if it's bacteria, then it could be, even just a few hundred years. Versus animals, probably on a similar time scale, maybe a few thousand. Intelligent, sort of Neolithic level humans, a few tens of thousands. And then, just so on and so forth. But also, in terms of human evolution, it's interesting because I feel like there might be an effort to counter human evolution, like an active sort of analysis of the genome. Like, might there be a sort of centralized authority that's like prevents the genome from drifting too far? Because we have genetic editing, with CRISPR and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it would be interesting to see, like, there could be organizations, like a sort of interstellar organization that uses, like, CRISPR and gene editing, that whenever, like, a new mutation pops up, like, they get rid of the mutation, like, they undo the effects of that mutation. And 99% of the time, mind you, a mutation is a negative thing. Like, it harms you. So they would probably do that. But might they also just go the extra 1% just because they're like, well, we want to keep the human genome, like, hegemonic so that we can still interact. But then there's also possibilities that we intentionally change the genome more than would be natural, because say that we live on, Mars, right? When we terraform Mars, there's also something called like bioforming, which is basically the opposite of terraforming. That's saying, okay, instead of changing the planet to become more Earth-like so that we can survive there, what if we just changed ourselves so that we became more Mars adapted to survive there? I would say it's likely that a combination of both would occur. It's actually really interesting. In like my favorite book series, Red Mars, and then its sequels by Kim Stanley Robinson, one of the characters by the third book, Blue Mars, he gets a genetic augmentation from crocodiles that makes him more tolerant of carbon dioxide. So crocodiles, I guess some crocodile species are able to tolerate like 7% carbon dioxide in their blood, just like as a norm. So this guy augments his blood to like be more like, because carbon dioxide is an active poison, right? So it becomes that the Martian atmosphere has enough oxygen in it, but it just has a bit too much carbon dioxide. So they've started editing all these animals to be like carbon dioxide tolerant. And so he decides to take the gene himself because he's like a big scientist guy. And so he's able to walk around on the surface freely, like before other people, because he has taken the crocodile DNA. And so he's like able to breathe in the 7% CO2 atmosphere. So I imagine humans would do that as we colonize space. So it's interesting, those two forces, just a desire to make sure that humanity stays united, but also a desire to adapt to the new planets that we encounter, are going to be competing forces. So
it's a pretty good prediction.
But I guess the point there being that you were sort of running on the assumption that like the drift in the human species would be like natural effects of isolation, you know, just genetic drift. But I think it would be primarily dominated by intentional genetic efforts, either intentional change or intentional
That is definitely
stability.
True. So you could make the argument that instead of large-scale diversification, you get, or diversification into many different outlets, you just get those that augment themselves and those that don't. You get two separate groups. And then, you know, there's a whole debate of, you know, if someone has augmented their DNA so that they, you know, can run faster, they can breathe underwater, they can, you know, do crazy stuff, play 5 instruments, crazy stuff like that. And they are, like, are they still human? After they've edited their DNA, their very code that it ties them to all of humanity and human evolution?
If they can create a viable offspring, then they are still human.
There you go. So we'll have to...
That's just definition of species.
We'll have to try that out. But that is...
Otherwise, they are not human, but they are still a conscious entity.
Yeah.
So they are a new thing, but they're still a conscious being. Yeah, that's interesting. It would be interesting to be like how would they do Olympics in the future? Because you would have like the augmented people and the non-augmented people, right? Like already you have like, you know, the people on the moon and Mars are going to like have weaker bones just because of the low gravity. But then if people are like gene editing themselves, might that be considered like doping, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. But yeah, I guess that's it. That's it about predictions. Yeah. So unless you guys got anything else to say, we can go into final thoughts.
I'm good.
All right. So final thoughts. What do you guys think? Any closing statements, closing arguments?
To all aliens out there. I run a small informational channel where I condense complex.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they're receiving this broadcast. I imagine, again, the sort of alien concept I have for my books, I have that they received the first radio broadcast that humans sent out, which was, "This is the KDKA radio station in Philadelphia." I don't know the quote, but they basically broadcast the 1920 election results.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, Warren G. Harding has won against whoever was running.
And so the aliens come down, they're like, "Hey, where's Mr. Harding?"
Where's Mr. Harding? And they're like, "Oh, he passed away in 1923. And they're like, no.
In the Eltham storyline, it was my first trillionaire was what was his name? Vance? I think it was Vance.
Oh, yeah, the crazy guy.
Yeah, he's eccentric, although he does go very insane. He does
criminal things.
Quite
morally bad things.
He got incredibly drunk one night, but he's still a genius, and so he engineered the strongest broadcast ever created by humanity, and he that was the first message that the aliens received, and it was him screaming "Good morning, Vietnam" into a microphone.
That is just something like Rick from Rick and Morty.
It really is. It really is.
Good show.
Yep.
Good show.
But yeah, so aliens, lots of things to consider. It tends to be portrayed poorly in science fiction, I would say. Yeah. That is an unfortunate thing. They tend to portray aliens poorly.
Especially
although you could,
if it's from a certain director.
You could sort of reframe things though, like with Star Trek. Instead of thinking of these as like different alien species, you could think of all the different aliens as like human descendants that diverged, because that would be more realistic. That would explain why they were all humanoid, you know. Although I think they probably explicitly at one point are like, no, that is not true. So I don't know. But you know, a simple reframing like that totally fixes most of these stories, I would say, in terms of that sort of plot hole there. But we really don't know. Aliens might be very humanoid, again, just because of sort of convergent evolution. I mean, that would be interesting to see. But again, we don't know. We only have one data point, which means that we cannot make any sort of trend lines here. We only have 0 dimensions of data here because we just have a point. So that is difficult. But, you know, we shall see, or we shall not see, depending on whether or not they are out there. So we'll see them.
And whether or not we can get to them
Yeah.
or find out in time before we die or go extinct.
Yep. So, aliens, we have no real conclusions, I guess, here. We only have sort of ideas, trends. It probably wouldn't be as it is predicted in science fiction. But one day we might find out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my final thought for you guys today. So, unless you guys have anything else, I'll just begin the sign off. So
Go ahead.
All
Sign
right.
us off, Max.
Sign us off, yeah. So, thank you guys all for watching the Gravity Max live stream. And thank you for everyone that made use of the chat today. We love to get the chat interaction. Oh, we actually have some more chat. We have Pluto Schneering says they do not have, they do have some weirdly well-produced parodies of popular music.
Yeah.
Oh, the WBC.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they do.
They really do. Oh my god, the parodies are so funny.
I have not seen those.
I am, to clarify, I don't agree with anything that they say. It would be hypocritical of me. I do, in fact, like women. But they're funny. They're really funny to listen to.
Fair enough, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, so thank you for making use of the chat, all you guys. And yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you, Camilla, for being our guest today. And thank you, Brendan, although he left.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you
Thank you
guys
for
on
joining us.
the live stream to add your opinions. Very interesting discussion, definitely, between you and me, Camilla. It's funny. Sometimes